Oh shit, my mic was muted. I said
What's up?
I destroy them. None of them can match my my sharp wit and my devastating rhetoric.
What do you mean by leftist? Do you mean like progressives?
Yeah, like my facts and logic just destroys all of you.
Oh no!
True.
No, stop!
True.
Facts and logic.
I love facts and logic.
Can you stop with the facts and logic? You're hurting my soul. It's too much.
Spoken like a true leftist. Can you
It's too
stop the
much for
facts
me.
and logic?
Can you please? Please, oh my god. I
No,
can't
I've never
handle
said
this
that.
amount of logic.
Spoken.
Honestly,
like a true
Lactoid is
leftist.
killing you with logic right now.
Oh no!
He's fucking
Please!
murdering you with
All right,
logic.
boys, I'm gonna be.
I'm relentless.
He's
I'm relentless.
literally.
I'll be right back.
I don't know where I was going with that, but he's
Please.
using.
I'll be right back, boys. I'm gonna use the restroom.
Yeah.
I love logic. It's important to think logically and with reason.
Hi, Scott.
Scott?
He's too busy
Yeah.
being famous.
Sure.
I think I'm like attracted to the foods that destroy my gut, and it may be from some kind of like masochism. I think I hold
Which
deep within me.
food specifically?
Well, currently I'm eating loaded potato sticks from the dollar store.
Potato sticks.
Prior
What?
to this, yeah, stuffed potato sticks from the dollar store. Prior to this, I ate a microwavable burrito, and then a hot beef stick, and then what else did I have?
Is this part of your diet to get jacked, Lactoid?
Yeah. Oh, and then 4 Special K cereal bars.
You'll be jacked in no time.
And coffee. What else have I eaten?
Dude, I'm not too famous to walk amongst you plebs. I just had to take a piss.
All right. I'm
I mean,
just
sometimes,
It's that wireless
sometimes the
headset.
Senate. I had a wireless headset. You know, sometimes the Senate must descend into the common folk and let themselves be seen. Oh shit! How y'all doing?
I'm doing good.
good.
Honestly, it's a pleasure to be a panel with you, Scott. I've been watching you for a long time.
Who's that?
Nutella. I'm a lurker in most people's chat, but I'm a fan of some of your takes.
Fucking lurkers. Gross.
I know. You know, I gotta be more involved.
Hey,
with these
hey.
communities. I've been
I'm not even allowed in Scott's audience.
I've been trying to be more active in people's communities. I've been trying to be more cognizant of that and be a better community member of people's communities. Does that make sense?
It's alright.
I'm sorry to inform you, Scott. I still haven't capitalized on your idea of becoming a flat earther. It is in the back of my mind. It's always something that I think about doing, but not yet.
I'm not gonna lie.
It's not
I don't
time
remember
yet.
that argument.
Oh no! It was
certainly
a
a
funny line. It was a really funny line that you said to me.
It's gotta be a throwaway joke. I'm sorry. You can keep it. It's all yours.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'd forget me too.
Oh Jesus! I would never forget you. I just forgot the joke.
I can send you the clip of it. I think I have it somewhere.
Yeah, send me the clip. I'll check it
I'll
out.
see if I have it.
So how was everyone's Columbus Day?
I'm enjoying Columbus Day.
It's Columbus Day today?
Who?
Yeah.
Indigenous Peoples Day. Excuse me.
Listen, I know lots of Hispanics and Italians. I don't know a single indigenous by my count. So it's Columbus Day to me.
Because we killed them all.
No, maybe, but it's Columbus
Hey,
Day to
Isle
me
of
for that
House.
reason.
Isle of House. Were you born in
Yeah.
America?
Yeah, I was born in America.
You're indigenous. Congratulations.
True. But it's still
Celebrate
like
ourselves.
Columbus Day. It's just what I'm more comfortable with.
No. You got to be born before a specific time. Or wait, no. the people who born you need to be born in America before a specific time to be indigenous. That's the rules.
Yeah, I guess I would say I'm native then, but yeah, because I don't count myself as indigenous. I'm just a native.
What?
I'm like 130 something. I'm just still more than fucking Elizabeth Warren.
True.
So I thought for the longest time
Low
that I had a
standard.
lot of Native American, and then that's when I just realized that like my family was just part black, and they just lied about that shit.
Oh, listen.
You should have done what Elizabeth Warren did and knew her native ancestry based on her strong cheekbones. That's what she said on TV.
Yeah. Well, strong cheekbones and family histories, you know, families like to embellish tales all the time.
I mean, to be fair, my family is Melungeon, so it's like it was Native American, Black, and Irish mixed anyways. So it wasn't like that far off. I just feel like they were like, if I put part Black on the census, I'm not allowed to own a business. I guess I'm part Native American.
Holy shit!
I
That's
mean,
like
that's
that's like the pinnacle of oppression, right? What Native American, Black, and Irish? Jesus Christ!
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what the Melungeons were for the most part.
I sent you a clip.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I'll check it out after.
Yeah,
the debate or
you
something.
can see your amazing quote. It's really funny. I'm
Oh
sorry.
no, I still have the T-shirts in the background. The struggle is real. Yo, why is Prime so fucking late to his own fucking
He's
panel?
late to his own show.
Jesus. This is unacceptable.
Oh,
Someone
to be
just made
fashionably late.
someone just made a new account and it says we love Mark from Fabian Liberty because that's my co-host and he just says I miss him.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought Fabian Liberty was like your code name at first, but then I was like, no, that's the name of the show.
I mean, this is the name of the channel. It's our brand, but I mean, it's Mark and I. I'm just the one that most people know because I do the debates and shit.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, why do we never see Mark pop in here?
Cause Mark, I love you, Mark. Mark gets angry. You know what I'm saying? Like his hatred of the state runs a little deeper than mine does, and motherfuckers start doing shit like apologizing for war or some shit, and Mark doesn't do well with that. Now, you know, if we were on a platform that was more free speech, Mark might do some debates, but Mark will get our
Wouldn't
fucking
the,
channel taken down. Motherfucker starts
Wouldn't war
apologizing
be
for
the
war or
ultimate
something.
form of state violence?
You got it.
I mean, I would argue that is probably the type of thing we shouldn't feel great about. Unless
Yeah.
it's forced on us.
Yeah, but Mark won't stay in TOS. You start apologizing for war or some shit like that.
Oh shit!
See, I don't even
I'll
know
be
what
careful.
fucking TOS actually is. I just don't pull my dick out on stream.
Good starting point.
You know what?
That's a good place to start. Don't Jeffrey Tubin it up, you know.
Oh, that's a bad idea. Never Jeffrey Tubin it.
Yeah,
Always remember to sign out of your Zoom meetings.
you got it. Or just like
So-
not pull your dick out during a meeting. That's like really the
Oh, true.
best
I mean,
way. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
just
So
go ahead
did
and nip that in the
anybody
bud.
actually-
I thought this was a
Movie?
free country. Okay, I don't
Well,
like this.
it's all dependent if it's consensual or not, right?
No. What consensual for what? Like, I have to ask for your consent before I pull my dick out on my own camera in my own house? No.
If you're showing it to me, yes.
I'm not showing it to you. You just happen to look at it.
Is that what people?
You can you can turn it off. You can turn it off if you don't want to see it.
You can close your eyes. Just close your eyes.
I love the lawyer who's intentionally misremembering reasonable expectation of privacy. Like, you do not have a reasonable expectation of privacy live streaming there, buddy.
Listen. Hey, Scott, do you believe in IP?
No. But
I don't support it. I believe that it is a thing that exists in some people's minds as an abstract idea. But no, I do not support IP.
If I rename my channel Fabian Liberty Lactoid, would you like DMCA me?
Would I be mad at you?
No, would you DMCA me?
I don't think you would.
Would I? No, of course I wouldn't DMCA you. I'd make fun of you.
Principled man. Okay.
No, you can take my clips out of context and make fucking
Lactoid
trash talking videos. I don't give a fuck.
Would you DMCA me if I make the channel Pro Communism United?
I don't think I could. I think that's protected under parody, actually.
It's good to know.
Though that doesn't mean I'll keep rating your ass. Just for the record, fucking steal my brand.
It would just provide some continuity, right? That's all it would do.
Yeah. Go fuck yourself. Still believe in freedom of association.
Hey, that's true. I do too. A lot of people don't, by the way. People don't like that idea.
Yeah, including everyone that supports the Civil Rights Act.
Yep, no, it's true. I've been debating against that in DGG for years, and people have been freaking out, like, "Oh my God, you're racist." I'm like, no, it's just because I want people to be able to hang out with who they want to hang out with. That's it.
You gotta use the sandwich shop argument.
Well, the whole like debate got really popular.
Yeah, let's go ahead and why don't we go ahead and bring back white only shops and black only water fountains? That sounds awesome for our society.
Dude, if someone wants to create a white only shop, I want them to create a white only shop.
I am sure
what freedom is, right? Well, hear me out, right?
Sure, it depends on what you mean.
As of right now, that racist owns a sandwich shop.
Everybody being free to participate in the economy. I
want to hear Fabian out though. I didn't say.
Listen, right? So every time you go to that shop, you don't know that he hates black people, and so every time he makes your sandwich, right? He's digging in his hair to get the dandruff to fall onto your toast so that it can be garlic toast, right? Like, he fucking hates you. I would rather his hate be out and open and all of us make fun of him and him have a sign up that says no N-words allowed. And then I know that sandwich shop uses too much mayonnaise. And then I don't have to eat there because I don't want that much mayonnaise on my sandwich.
I never get mayonnaise on my sandwich.
Yeah, I miss when racist were racist.
But the white only sandwich shop definitely uses too much mayonnaise. Let's be honest, boys.
How disappointing would it be if the white only sandwich shop made the best sandwiches?
So what would you say about like really like poorer communities or like smaller communities where you tried to do that, right? And you would have situations where there's not that much of a black population, right? There's only really like one sandwich shop in town, right?
What town has one sandwich shop?
Sounds like a skill issue to me.
I'm just saying, I'm bringing up an example, right? Let's say like there's only really one sandwich shop in a town, right? And it's white only. Are you expecting the average person to not go to that sandwich shop because it's racist and have it go out of business?
I think if the average person in that town wants to support openly a white only sandwich shop, we should do everything in our resources and charity that is available to get those black people out of that racist ass town instead of the situation where it is today, where the racism is quiet.
But then I guess what I'd ask you is what happens when you start having like, I don't know, districts of towns that are just white only and districts of towns that are just black only, right?
Then I'm not going to go to that district of town. I don't want to go there. I don't want to support those people. They won't be able to economically compete unless you think racism is so prevalent that the government is required to stop it and that the average person is just deeply racist.
I think what was
Wow,
happening
we literally
before
had
the
an
Civil Rights
apartheid
Act.
system for 70 years.
Look,
Yeah, before
I'm
the Civil
completely
Rights
against.
And
I'm
there's
completely against the government.
plenty of people who are
instituting,
still
like-
alive who lived under it. Like,
Right,
we've
I'm
had
completely
a
against Jim
case
Crow.
study on that.
Listen, I'm completely against Jim
I'm
Crow. I'm
completely
completely
against
against
Jim
the
Crow.
state.
I just feel like people should be allowed to still do Jim Crow if they want.
No, he doesn't think racists
No.
should be allowed to do Jim Crow. He doesn't think.
Here's a good analogy.
The white-only shops.
Here's a good analogy,
But
right?
he's-
Like,
he's-
if you had
Sorry.
somebody who wanted to, let's say I'm in my house, right, and like I only wanted to allow like black people into my house, no Asians, right? This would be, you could say it's like reprehensible. You could say like, well, what the fuck do you have against Asians, right? But it's my house, and
Mhm.
I don't want to spend time with Asians. Like, ultimately, let's say, what if I didn't want to marry an Asian? Should I have like, well, no, you can't racially discriminate when you like want to date people? Well, why not? Like, do you think it's wrong? I mean, sure, I think I would agree, but I don't think it's,
That's
I don't want
very
the,
different from
I don't want the
shop.
state.
I
But,
think there's
but
a
is it really
big
that different? Is it really
between
that different?
your
Yeah,
own
no, I would argue
personal
that's very different.
domicile
Why?
And doing business with the public.
Well, isn't doing
This is
business just like
pretty-
exchanging like things between two consenting parties?
I mean, I would just say this, right? To quote Malcolm X, I don't want my money supporting racists. And when you have laws that make the racism go underneath, you're not able to actually determine who those people are. So if that
just to
sandwich
let you
shop
know-
exists, you're giving your money to a racist unknowingly.
So I actually think that there's a modern
racist.
kind of example of this, right? That I go through, or not the exact same thing, but something similar, where it's like, I'm a trans woman, right? When I go into
Mhm.
some places, I know that I'm going to encounter trans folks, right? The difference with me is I had to drop out of college because I was in a community of trans folks, right? But I would have stayed if there was laws that protected me that were revoked, right? There was laws that protected me that were revoked by Trump. And if those had stayed, I would have stayed at that school. I don't care if they're transphobes. I don't care if my money was going to transphobes. In the end, I was getting a service still, and I still had people in that school that I felt comfortable with, and I still was able to like learn, right? Because they can't stop me from going to class, right? Because there's laws
So-
that would have prevented them.
So you're saying Trump
shit.
repealed laws that made it to where they stopped you from going to class?
They didn't stop me from going to class. They allowed for me to get severely harassed to the point of where I didn't feel safe leaving my dorm room. And there was
Wait,
nothing
hold
that
on.
I could do because the school didn't care.
I'm going to need you to be way more specific because you're claiming that Trump repealed laws, and before Trump, there were laws protecting you. And after Trump, it was perfectly legal to wildly harass you regularly for being trans to the point where you couldn't
Yeah.
leave your dorm room.
I didn't say I couldn't leave my dorm room. I said I didn't feel safe leaving my dorm room.
Okay,
don't
but
care,
you
just
felt
leaving my
safe
apartment in
before
Harlem.
when the exact same amount of transphobes existed?
I mean, I'm doing my example, which is when I went to school, which was after Trump, and then Trump's repealed the law, I believe, right actually before I went to school. So I don't have a comparison point. I'm just saying that as I was at the school, it became more and more uncomfortable leaving my room because I would get harassed by people within my dorm. I mean, I once got screamed at for going into the girls' bathroom, and there wasn't really a gender neutral bathroom. So I just kind of had to like try and go when no one was there. I had to plan all my bathroom breaks and like wait for people to not be in the bathroom. Right? Stuff like that. And like that type of stuff wouldn't have happened if there was actually someone that I could report that to and say, hey, this isn't okay. But nobody cared that that was happening. To me.
Okay, but see, do you see the situation where the laws that you're now referencing, because we're trying to figure out like what we're talking about is bathroom, right? The same
there's more
exact
than
thing, the same exact thing could apply to any woman that subjectively feels harassed and uncomfortable and unsafe because biological men are going into the bathroom. So you could use that in the reverse and say that it was Trump that finally saved them and allowed them to go to college, and they would not have been able to go to college unless those discriminatory laws were still in place. I'm not saying that either of you are necessarily right. What I'm saying is institutions should be able to freely associate with who it is that they want, and there should be schools that are perfectly opening and accepting to individuals such as yourself, and there should be schools that aren't. I don't know that there should be, but I should say, but there should be allowed to do that if that's what people feel, if
But
those
why
subjective feelings around the oppression of the state matter so much, which I think they do.
So there's a lot to unpack here, but I'm gonna go through it by step, right?
Where
So
the fuck is PrimeCayes?
On his own
I'm
show.
kind of curious too. We're
we-
starting our own debate.
We actually just came in here to say that we're starting a revolution because the king is absent. Absentee kingdom. Absentee king abandoning his throne. So,
Is he
Naho,
still
Durga,
not
and I
like?
came
Is
here
it
to
still
mutiny.
this thing?
La Revolution. Yes.
Oh my
Yeah,
God! Is he
it's-
asleep or something?
He must be asleep. Yeah.
Oh, no, he started the stream. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, he
but did
started the
and go
stream?
to sleep.
Yeah.
It's been going.
Is he
it's
on the
been
camera
going
right now?
For like
I don't believe so.
45 minutes.
Did
No.
not- Let me DM him real quick.
Can I ask real quick, Ashley? I want to ask you two quick questions. The first question
Yeah,
I have for you is: do you believe sex work is valid work, and sex workers provide a service to the community?
I'm actually not certain how I feel about sex work because I've heard
Oh,
really good
fuck.
arguments on. No, I've heard really good arguments on both sides, right? I think that
Right.
overall, I don't think that we should ever criminalize women doing it or men doing it, right? Necessarily, but I might be for criminalizing buying it.
That's the Julie
I
Bindel
feel
argument.
like-
That's the worst
Yeah.
fucking argument you can have. It's the
It's
worst
also
one.
so I wanted to make an analogy, and it's unfortunate because I really expected an answer one way, but
I
I
love
didn't
analogies.
get it. It fucking
I'm
sucks.
sorry.
Well, I mean, it may not an analogy, but more of like an exploration, because for the people who want the Civil Rights Act, who think it's okay to like force me to make a sandwich for somebody who I don't want to make a sandwich for. Are you all like, let's say I'm a sex worker, are you okay with forcing me to like give a hand job to somebody who I don't want to give a hand job for? Like, what's the difference? Like, fundamentally, if sex work is real work and making a sandwich is real work, then under the Civil Rights Act, you should be in favor of forcing me to do both for somebody who I don't want to do it for.
Well, actually, that's actually why I think that saying that's why I'm uncomfortable saying that sex work should be like fully legal on both sides, because I
Yeah.
feel like if it's an option, right? I feel like something like OnlyFans is very different, or like something like pornography is a very different field, right?
Like-
or I feel like that's a lot more controlled, but then there's also like the main target of consumption is not directly involved, and there's like a degree of separation. So I would say those are pretty different. But I'd say
Are
like
you
for
really making an argument that puts like having to make a sandwich for a brown person on the same level of like forcing sex acts on someone?
Yeah, your incredulity. I can't even pronounce it. Never mind.
incredulity.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, if that's not the argument you're
Too much
making,
whiskey.
go ahead and clarify it.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So,
think
so,
that's the argument he's making.
I
Like y'all have to
can't
understand
pronounce it.
why
So-
people
No, you
do
can
not
attack the
think
argument
best
he's
of these
making.
libertarian
No, well, that's what I wanted to say. Like
actually
the
wanted to
attack the argument he's making. You just don't
the
understand.
incredulity is not like in of itself an argument, because the idea is fundamentally it's both. Like the core principle is the same for both. When you're forcing me to make a sandwich for somebody who I don't want to make a sandwich for, I could have the subjective viewpoint of like, I'm deeply uncomfortable doing this for you. You're taking up my time. Like, I don't want to do this for you, but you are making me do it. Otherwise, like, the government's going to get me in trouble. Like, we take this and you transmit that labor to sex work, and the people who argue for sex work are saying that like sex work is real work. And if sex work is real work and comparable to any other form of industry, which I believe, by the way, then I don't see why like sex work gets to be in a unique category where now all of a sudden you can discriminate based on race.
So I actually really agree with you half here, and that's why I'm uncomfortable saying that like sex work is real work.
I know, that's why I want that answer
What
from
you're
you.
I totally
actually
disagree with you.
I actually
is you're forcing someone to do business with the public.
Yeah,
you
same
can
with sex
still
work.
refuse. You can still refuse service if you want
But
to.
the problem is
But-
the government's not forcing you to do these things. It's the branch you work at or the service place you work at. That's who's forcing you to make sandwiches.
Yeah.
What? No,
No,
the
but if-
government
but if I'm the
literally
owner of that
forces you to
place-
do that.
If I'm
So
the
I can-
owner of that
so I can
place,
tell you the
don't
government
want to
forces
do
you.
business with white people, for example, then the government wants to say, hey, actually, you have to do business with white people. Right? Like that's the problem.
And if sex work is real work, then like ideally, like a prostitute who's like, sorry, I just don't want to have sex with black people, you would say no. Like you have to go and give black people hand jobs if you're going to be giving hand jobs for a living. That means the analogy holds 1-to-1.
Well, it's also there are some limit cases. There are some limit cases that work in our favor, right? I'm Lactoid. I don't know if you remember the case, right? There's kind of two big cases. One of which we thought was going to go to the Supreme Court, but didn't. which was essentially a female-only Uber, so that women could basically get an Uber at night and guarantee that their driver was a female because they were worried about, rape or kidnapping or, violence of some sort. And they felt more comfortable being able to choose a female and a business that specifically catered to females. And that was illegal to do because of the Civil Rights Act. Eventually they shut down before they were able to continue with court proceedings. Another example was Hooters, right? Hooters was forced to hire a certain percentage of staff as male cooks and male individuals that were hostesses, and even had to create a male version of Hooters because they determined that it wasn't appropriate for Hooters to only hire female wait staff, which was a form of discrimination against men based off of gender, even though Hooters was arguing, well, it's required for our business model, right? Our business model is we grab girls with big tits and we give you shitty wings that are overpriced. If we don't have the girls with big tits, or at least a water bra, like, we don't have a business model, right? And so there are weird limit cases to this situation. My only argument is that really it all comes down to the non-aggression principle as far as I'm concerned. And when you start telling people what they can and can't do with their business and with their property, that doesn't aggress and with their bodies, that doesn't aggress upon other people, you start to get into morally unjustifiable territory. And you can make the consequentialist argument that, the proof is in the pudding that business is now available to these people and they're not discriminated against, and this discrimination is bad. But I don't think the data necessarily supports that conclusion. I think we like the idea of those things no longer being there, so we assume it to be good. But I don't think the state justifying justifying an encroachment on the rights of freedom of association actually makes racism better. I think instead it breeds resentment, and it breeds a sense of oppression and an inability for people to separate themselves as they so desire.
I know from where I would come from, my perspective is I wouldn't want to go into an establishment where they have to accept my, me as a patron, and they may end up spitting in my food or putting something really nasty in my food. And so I would go to a place, this is kind of where, even though I'm not really big on flying colors and stuff like trans flag, pride flag, all that, I don't really do that myself. I actually do like seeing businesses who they themselves go out of their way to kind of show that they're, friendly to that community, because I know that they're actually not going to be resentful. They're not going to spit in my food. They're not going to, do something fucked up.
You don't know that for a fact just because the place allows you in.
Well, no.
But if they're totally free,
for the best. And
but if they're totally free to discriminate,
that's my point,
circle,
right? I mean, that's between, my whole point, right?
Explain to me how you square the circle between supposedly not supporting Jim Crow, but also being against the thing that ended it.
Right. So again, I'm an anarchist.
We should have just left it in place and I guess hope for the best.
No, but you have to understand there's two distinct elements here, right? One is a form of state
distinctly because of the Civil Rights Act. That's
you're not listening. You're asking me a question and then you're interrupting with your own
go ahead.
Right. So there's a difference between Jim Crow laws that are enacted by the state and the freedom of an individual property owner being able to discriminate as they choose. Right? There's a difference between segregation, for example, or Jim Crow laws, where a government forces discrimination against people.
Is Prime all right?
A private property owner. What's that?
Is Prime all right?
Did you get some update that I'm unaware of?
No, I'm looking at the screen.
He's on stream.
Technical problems, he says.
This is what happens when you try and use Discord and fucking StreamYards.
Yeah, too many services at the same time.
Right? No cam debate, boys. Yeah, apparently, fucking Prime's having technical issues. It's gonna take a few minutes.
Computer's like, we can't take all these applications running at once.
He said he'll be here soon. Well, that's what's good. But yeah, no, what I'm saying is, like, obviously I'm for all of the parts of the Civil Rights Act that abolish the state and its intentional discrimination, because freedom of association goes both ways, right? So freedom of association means that you're free to discriminate against people, but it also means that the state isn't encroaching upon your ability to not discriminate against people, right? You have the right to freely associate with everybody if you so choose. And so when Jim Crow laws were against the freedom of the were against freedom of association, right? Creating black only bathrooms and water fountains and like restaurants and services and, you know, segregating people via state power, that was also against freedom of association. Like those places, if they so choose, should have been able to serve blacks and whites together without any legal recourse.
So I know we talked about, you know, sandwiches and, you know, sex work being analogous, but would you guys be in favor of maybe a bank discriminating against a black person because they just don't want to serve that black person?
Of course they would.
I mean, only under the situation where the bank is not a state system, right? As it currently sits, you know, the currency is backed by the Federal Reserve. You know, the interest rates are backed by the Federal. The entire monetary system is based off of like post fractional reserve banking managed by, you know, pseudo state institutions like the Federal Reserve, which are essentially, you know, under purview of the state. So if it was a private banking system, right, where there was a competition of currencies and a competition of banks, and a bank is stupid enough to not loan to people based off the color of their skin, like they're free to do so. I'm not going to fucking bank with them because they're pieces of shit, number one. And number two, their currency is probably not going to do very well.
I agree with that.
Also, another thing to kind of keep in mind, though a lot of people don't think this through, but it's actually, it's more profitable to have a broader customer base. So
without doubt.
The more
racism hurts your profits.
Yeah, it's you limit your customer base if you're going to have racist policies.
Yeah, racism is definitely not good for capitalism at all.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it never seemed to be a problem before it needed to be outlawed.
When did we have free market When did we have free market capitalism in America? Like, relax.
Anyways, I'll leave you guys to it. It looks like Prime's getting things together. We just hopped in here to say
Zonia.
hello. But you all have fun on the panel.
I mean, even the concept of the free market actually existing seems like fantasy talk. Such as a bunch of competing currencies and all of that. Like, what about in the reality in which we actually live?
We currently live in a reality where we have competing currencies. What the fuck are you talking about?
Not inside the same country.
I mean,
yes, we do.
Is kind of that.
We have cryptocurrencies. We have commodity currencies such as gold and silver, other precious metals. Cobalt is a form of a commodity currency.
Are you?
I got
moved. Bye.
Like, we live in a world where fiat currency is what it is at this point.
That's your argument is fiat currency is what it is to me saying that we have competition of currency and giving several examples.
In America, in businesses, they are paying their taxes in the American dollar.
Does anyone want to buy my NFT?
The people in the American dollar. Like,
the original argument
value.
Dog, this is just bad. Like, just take this L. Just take this L and move on.
Dog, I don't even understand what you're attempting to say at this point.
It's obvious you don't understand.
You're like, and the fact that you actually think that makes sense is amazing to me. Like, these libertarian talking points, they're just detached from reality. Like,
or maybe they're just
businesses do business with the public, not just directly with individuals.
And and he thinks it shouldn't be that way. He thinks businesses should be able to direct their business as to what towards the individual and not towards the society, right?
Oh shit, dude, we got a hat on this time.
Sorry. Let's get started. Thanks for sticking around. Yeah, sorry, I had some technical issues happen.
Don't worry, Prime. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So Revolution Underground and Doobie, do you have cameras? Okay, Doobie?
Big question is it going to turn on or not?
Oh, I mean, yours is on. Doobie? Still there?
1 second.
Okay.
Like 2 seconds, actually.
He's changing the hat or something.
5 seconds.
Okay.
Like 7 more seconds.
Okay, anyway, yeah, thanks all for sticking around. This is Reverie Roundtable. Well, we usually start around 8:30 anyway, Troy, but still, thanks for, but thanks for sticking around. So we just had some technical issues come up. So we have a bunch of great individuals here. Very excited to have them. And I'll start introduce them. We have Ashley, who haven't been here for quite a bit. How are you, Ashley?
I'm sorry. I just moved. Then I was at TwitchCon over the weekend. It's just I'm kind of in a very turbulent, messy state, but I'm actually sitting down, and that's nice. I haven't sat down for a while and just chilled. So it's nice to be here.
Yeah. Oh, we're very happy to have you. Absolutely. We've been wanting to have you on again for quite a bit. We have Scott here as well. Scott, thanks, friend, for stopping by and sticking here while we got that stuff worked out. Yeah.
So my name is Scott. My pronouns are they, them, landlords. I am a racially ambiguous white male that is 6'5" with brown hair and a brown beard. How are you doing, PrimeCayes?
I'm doing well, thank you. Are you of the landlord class?
I am not really.
Okay. We've had some landlords come through here actually, and they get really butthurt when you like yell about them about that. It's really funny.
I love landlords. They're great. They're amazing. Morally good agents and actors in the world.
All right. Well, Corey Campbell is here. Corey Campbell. He's a morally good agent.
But regardless, I identify as a landlord, so please refer to me as such.
Oh, okay. All right. Piece of shit it is. Corey Campbell. Thank you for stopping by. Friend, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm really happy that you got the technical issues resolved. Or at least I hope you did. And as always, grateful to be here and happy to receive an invitation. And also, I should give a warm, happy Canadian Thanksgiving to my good friend Lactoid. Yeah, looking forward to getting into the topics.
All right, thank you. All right, next, Lactoid. Right, I don't know how Canadians traditionally greet each other back, but maybe you can educate us. We love to have diversity and that kind of cultural entertainment here. So please,
excessive thank yous. That's how they do it.
Excessive thank yous. All books being $2 more for some stupid reason. I don't know. But yeah, Lactoid. You can find me at United, Twitch. Really happy to be here.
Okay.
Why the fuck are books always more expensive?
We have Revolution Underground, who was here with us previously on Thursday. Had Abe with us, all black everything. Thanks for being here.
Hey, what's going on? I have returned. I see this is going to be an interesting topic. I wonder how many folks actually bothered to take a look at this movie before we talk about it, but we shall see.
That's actually a really good question. We're going to find out quite shortly.
We're going to find out quick.
We have Nutella / Josh back with us again. He was first here with us on Abe last time. How are you?
Good, I'm doing well. I have nothing to plug. I'm just a normal guy, but I'm happy to be here. Thanks, Prime.
Okay. Finally, Isle. Thanks, Isle, for stopping by.
Oh gosh, I have everything to plug. I finally started the YouTube channel. I put on some Columbus Day videos out for today. Happy Columbus Day. Regardless of what anyone might tell you about Indigenous Peoples Day, that's a falsehood. That's a psyop. It's actually Columbus Day. And people forget about that, but I'm here to remind you. Other than that, I've been doing really good. So I'm glad to be invited, as always, Prime. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, we have our Dark Lord and Savior DB, who has
disappeared.
He's taken his most evil form.
I figured I'd do this in honor of the second topic. I feel like it'd make your audience more comfortable with what we're speaking about.
That was pretty evil.
Given how many anime fans you have in your audience, I feel like this is kind of their vibe in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah, that is true.
That's what they say, kawaii.
We're moving forward.
I
Okay,
fucking love
topic
him. 1.
Again, thanks all for, if you're still here, thanks for sticking with us through that issue we're experiencing. Okay, topic 1. Hurricane Ian has just devastated Florida. It has either left homes utterly destroyed or completely uninhabitable. Many of its victims lack flood insurance because they don't live in areas considered high risk. But with climate change increasing the scale of damage, flood zones are difficult to predict. Congress sometimes provides assistance, but this can take a long time to arrive and is often difficult to obtain due to red tape. So as a climate change mitigation effort, should the U.S. federal government guarantee assistance to its citizens when hit by hurricanes? If these natural disasters will simply be a fact of life going into the future, would it not benefit the economy and society to have the reassurance that this devastation will be covered? Or should property owners be held completely liable for damages even when it would be highly unlikely for it to befall them? So yeah, we're seeing this more and more. We could extend this to other natural disasters. I was going to focus on hurricanes, but we see places completely outside of anything that looks like a flood zone get hit with hurricanes, and people are kind of shut out of luck. You got to assume, you got to hope you'll get some hope you get some help from the government. But even then, when they put those programs in place, they have all these requirements, and sometimes people fall short of them for whatever reason. So should we take a more proactive approach and just say, hey, if you get hit by something like this, we've got your back? All right, let's open it up to, we'll start with Ashley. You're muted.
Leave you muted.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Always.
I think at least for a lot of people that like capitalism and like really stand by it, I think that a lot of what capitalism is built on is like rational actors making decisions. And I think that we're getting into situations where a rational actor, there's no way that they would like buy insurance for something when they're at no risk, right? I think of it like if a meteor suddenly crashed on your house, right? Like you would have never bought meteor insurance, right? That wouldn't be rational. So I think that for these types of situations, it makes a lot of sense to help bail out and like help out people when it's not fair for them to like have expected it to happen. I don't know. So I'm very much for like the government kind of helping out with that. And I also think that it will help towns survive if they're like destroyed and not just like disappear.
Thank you. Scott.
So the first thing we have to talk about is the question of, is climate change actually causing more hurricanes to hit the Atlantic coast? The answer is unequivocally no. Since the 1900s, we've had a steep decline in hurricanes hitting the Atlantic coast. And the best estimation in terms of severity is 1 to 3% more severe on average than they have been since 1900. And climate deaths obviously are drastically declining due to technology and capitalism, right? So the idea that like these specific areas are in more risk to climate change is just a myth promulgated by circle jerk, fear porn media and politicians that want your money to garner action. So let's talk about the insurance. So if it is true that it is very unlikely that a hurricane hits these areas, then insurance should be cheap. If it is not true that it is very likely, then insurance should be high, but that proves that it is likely that these areas are hit by hurricanes. The only way that this price-demand equation can actually be affected in some way is not climate change or hurricanes, but instead the subjectivity of price. And so what that means is that people believe that they're in fear of being hit by a hurricane that they're not actually going to be hit by, or they're unlikely to be hit by. And so the demand for high cost hurricane insurance goes up despite the risk being relatively low. So in fact, the only thing that can be negative here is not the lack of government resources. The only things that can be negative are people that are highly likely to get hit by a hurricane, that live in a hurricane area and are so fucking stupid they don't get hurricane insurance. Or B, people like you putting out misinformation about climate change increasing the likelihood of hurricanes, thus making the subjective need for hurricane insurance higher and increasing the price without a relative increase to risk. So what I would argue is if you live in fucking Florida, get hurricane insurance, you fucking idiot. And if you keep promulgating misinformation about climate change and hurricanes, that you're actually doing harm to people by subjectively engaging in the fear porn that makes these insurance industries rich.
I say this increases the number of hurricanes? Okay, let's go to Corey.
Sorry, that's not what I said.
Not what he said.
But yeah, well, there's a lot to unpack there, but it's not my place to unpack it right now. But from what I understand, based off of the article, and again, I'm a filthy Canadian, so I probably don't have a great understanding of the insurance system in the United States. But based off what was stipulated in the article, like flood insurance, like is largely provided by like the government, at least in Florida, and that like the majority of people like do not get flood insurance. And then like in principle, if what's got outlined in terms of insurance is actually like feasible and actually is implemented, I can see that as a plausible solution. But given the current state of affairs now, based off of my understanding of insurance or the lack thereof in these areas, I would use pretty much the exact same argument that I used, I guess, a few panels ago when it came to the floods in Pakistan, where like I think the people of Pakistan, for lack of a better term, require or should have climate reparations in terms of either whatever support, aid, charity, whatever term you want to use. And I would actually pretty much, I'm in favor of the same thing, as in there are going to be, I think, way more effects of climate change, which is a real thing, which is occurring, which is largely increasing extreme weather events. That is having a devastating effect globally, and that flooding is not the only issue, and that as a result of the inaction, some sort of remedial action needs to take place in order to deal with all the consequences, since we actually haven't solved or haven't taken steps to solve the issue. So I'm just in favor of, largely, just as I'm in favor of climate reparations for Pakistan, I'm in favor of climate reparations for people in the United States that are experiencing extreme weather events.
Thank you. Back to it.
So the point of insurance is to share risk. That's the idea. Whenever you purchase a house in a high-risk area, or really purchase a house anywhere, or do almost anything, you are engaging in an activity which carries risk. And if you own property, that carries monetary risk with it. That's one of the burdens that comes with owning things. So the landlords that everyone likes to rail upon, they have to deal with that risk as well, and that they could lose their entire investment. That's the point, because they own it. They're able to reap the benefits of it. And so it makes sense that they also carry the risk of it. You could buy insurance to share that risk, but ultimately that risk is yours and yours alone. The unpopular truth is that by constantly paying for the effects of the environment for one particular area, you are subsidizing people living in that area. If I live in areas with tough soil, like Montana or Tennessee, it may be more expensive to dig basements in those areas. We don't expect everyone else in the country to chip in and help them build their basement just because they don't get to have basements, because they chose to live in that area. That's one of the downsides of living in an area with tough soil or risking a purchase in an area with tough soil, is that you're not going to be able to do things that you'd be able to do if the environment was a little bit more favorable. In the same way that if somebody lives in an area that has a lot of rain or hurricanes, we shouldn't expect everyone else in the country to chip in and pay for weatherproofing their house or paying for their increased insurance premiums so they can enjoy to live in a multi-million-dollar beach estates in their wonderful beach paradise. And I mean, the beach estates in Florida are pretty ridiculous when we're talking about where wealthy people decide to live in this country. Fundamentally, people should be responsible for the costs that they incur living there. There's no reason why people who choose to live a less exciting, safer life in the Midwest, instead of this sort of risky beach life, why they should be punished for their decision by subsidizing somebody else to live where they want to live. This should be handled by a mix of weatherproofing and private insurance by the people who live there. People should pay for their own risks just in the same way they can get the benefits from the properties that they own.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, Revolution Underground.
I believe you're muted.
Revolutionary, you're still. Can you hear us? I don't think we can hear you. So we'll continue on. Go ahead, Josh.
Sure, yeah, I don't know what happened to Revolutionary Underground, but yeah, I will preface this by saying, by introducing my politics. I believe a strong capitalistic system must be met with an equally strong democratic governing system. In that specific worldview, I view this problem through two lenses. Through a capitalist lens, I see Hurricane Ian as an affront to our capital systems by resulting in volatility in their respective local economies. From a democratic lens, or how this disaster relief will help our democracy, flourish, is that Americans who would ultimately benefit from this program will have a safety net in case they do have to incur financial losses due to unforeseen circumstances like hurricanes. It is for these reasons it is incumbent on the American government to protect Americans' most valued investments. That's my take.
Thanks so much, Isle.
I was also on the panel with Corey Campbell. And I vehemently refuse that, degenerate and just self-defeating and self-effacing policy of, climate reparations, so-called, because it's dumb. We shouldn't give our money away, our precious resources, land, and treasure away to other places because it gets a little bit more wet than usual over there in, Pakistan or in, south of the equator. That's dumb. But for people who live in our sphere of influence, people who are United States citizens, they deserve every single bit of that treasure in times where it gets rough for them. So I think that, people in Puerto Rico should get more help with their hurricane battery, because they get really hit hard in the hurricane citizens. And I think Americans, when it comes to natural disasters, because to Lactoid's point, different parts of the country are different, but they do all have different natural disasters that happen. In the very far west, in California, there's lots of earthquakes because there are lots of loose fault lines over there. I mean, the Wizard of Oz took place in Kansas, but then a tornado hit the area, and tornadoes do hit as well. So, we don't want, tornadoes hitting the Midwest and, fucking them up because, tornado insurance gets too high either. So I think that we need to prioritize American citizens, make sure that they're okay, make sure that they're protected. I think we should invest in infrastructure that can block these aberrations of nature. And I think that, we can do it if we put our minds to it and we have enough pluck and ingenuity to do so. And I mean, I think we have enough money. I think we've proven by how much aid we give to Ukraine that if we have the will, we can just find the money somewhere or just print it on our own and just do some things with it. So I think that that's not an issue. We should help our American citizens as best.
That's favorite answer yet. Let's go. Let's try Revolution Underground again.
All right. I assume you all can hear me at this point.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So let's keep in mind that we already do this in a whole lot of areas that are inside the floodplain. We operate the National Flood Insurance Plan and Program for a reason, but I would argue there should be limits because at this point, FEMA has been rebuilding people's houses 8 or 9 times. I do think there should be a limit to that. You can't just rebuild in perpetuity over and over and over again in a disaster area. But I also don't want to put the burden on American citizens if their home gets wiped out by a hurricane to all of a sudden be expected to just have the cash on hand to move to another place in another state. But I would say maybe you get 2 rebuilds, and after that, if you want to get that federal insurance backstop money, you need to pick a place that's outside of the floodplain.
Thank you so much. Okay. And finally, our friend Doobie.
I actually find myself, unfortunately, agreeing with Blackwood and Scott on this. I think that if you're in Florida, you've been fed climate change warnings for the last 30 years. Right? So Florida's going to be underwater. So if at this point you're not buying flood insurance, like it's just kind of on you. You know, you decided not to do it. It's available to you if you're in the state. So hey, sorry, fuck off.
Okay. All right. Open to the panel. Anyone?
I think Doobie made the point right there. Right?
Yeah,
Right.
I think
all I can think of.
California, like
Here you go.
California,
Here
we
you
have
go.
earthquakes, right? And it
It's-
doesn't happen very often where like an earthquake happens where it causes like millions of dollars of damage, but it happens once in a while. So I have earthquake insurance.
Look,
Like, it's
all
not-
I can think of is Sam Kinnison's bit from like, I don't know, like 30 years ago, where he talks about us constantly giving food to like people in the desert and he just tells us, you know, move to where the fucking food is. Like, we should not be sending them food. We should be sending them U-Hauls. Like, if you can't afford hurricane insurance, or you can't afford, if you're in an area where hurricane insurance is simply too expensive to exist, and you can't afford to rebuild your home every few years, then fucking move.
I want to add on to that. Like, if you live in Florida, your property values, you can sell your property and you can move somewhere else, right? We're not talking
Right.
people own shit there. We're not talking about like destitute people. You own property in Florida, one of the hottest real estate markets in the country. You could move to a cheaper state.
Let's go to Ashley.
I just want to debunk this claim that you made, Scott. I've been doing research I've been like looking into it, and I found some articles I could send you on it, and I can send you some studies on it, and I could probably send you the studies that you're pointing to. But it seems like definitely climate change has increased hurricanes. It seems like that's pretty. It seems like
that wasn't the claim. Unfortunately, you Googled the wrong thing. I didn't say this. I'm specifically talking about the area that we're talking about, which is the Atlantic coast.
Okay, so you would say specifically the Atlantic coast. I will double check that it increased in the Atlantic coast, but I think that I know what you're pointing to because
Decrease.
I see the Sorry, I'm telling you that I saw the 2 studies that talked about the Atlantic coast. I will specifically find your Atlantic coast.
Go ahead.
Meantime and the in-between time, I think that we should definitely make sure that it's easy for American citizens to afford, because, you know, if it's like such a crucial thing where the state already has like a special cutouts for flood insurance, then I think we need to make sure that everybody knows that it's available. Because, you know, there's lots of things that, you know, there are just opportunities out there that you don't know exist. And so someone like literally has to pull you aside and say, yo, it's right there. Go get it. Apply for it. It's like just one call from like, you know, and then you gotta
there's
do some
plenty of
paper.
advertising.
They
that
don't want to
happens,
pay for
like,
it.
Yeah, exactly. They say, hey, it's not going to happen. You know, there's a small chance. It's a waste of money. It's a scam, etc. Insurance bad, etc. So they just don't get it.
And that's the gamble, right? That's the gamble they chose to make by not buying the insurance, by not sharing that risk.
And it's not
when you're going
expensive.
to buy property. And also, yeah, it's not that expensive, but
It's
the properties they're
legally
buying are
required
very
in a lot of these in a lot of these areas.
Well, I just have for Lactoid, if you can clarify, because from what I understand, this is just me like trying to learn in terms of like how it works in terms of insurance in Florida. From what I gathered from the article, it's like insurance is generally only offered to those who are in the high risk areas. If I'm mistaken on that.
No, that's not
Yeah,
true.
you are
Okay.
mistaken. So the article actually specifically says, I want to read from it to make it. I'll keep looking for it, but
Or like
essentially,
if you know Doobie, where my mistake
typically,
here.
so the way,
I
the way
found that sentence, by the way, real quick. It must be
Sure.
purchased separately, usually from the federal government. Although most people have the option for purchasing flood insurance, it is required only in government-backed mortgages that sit in areas that
Okay,
the FEMA deems highest risk. So
right.
it's available for most people. Now you
But
can
yeah,
make the
but
argument that it
it's-
should be
but
available
it's-
for everybody, but
yeah, but it's
required.
mandatory in the high risk areas. Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
but it's still available. Now, I'm not even sure it should be mandatory. I think that if you want to gamble with your incredibly expensive real estate that you're privileged enough to buy in this country, and you want to gamble with that, that's your gamble. The fact that everyone else is going to chip in so you can have your Mar-a-Lago fucking shit, no, like why?
Well, I mean,
Mar-a-Lago.
let's just be honest. I don't think everyone in that area has a Mar-a-Lago res. I mean, again,
Well,
I
not
could be
everybody,
wrong.
but it's beachfront property. Like the beachfront property that get hit the hardest, that's like the expensive places. Those are the
Florida?
expensive places.
That's-
Florida man is living large.
Florida?
Ashley.
So I looked into it further, just briefly glancing over it, right? So I could be, it's possible at these studies are like completely off and I'm looking at the completely wrong thing. But it seems like you're right. In the Atlantic coast, hurricanes are getting less, but it seems like they're getting more severe, and that's the key. It seems like more Category 5, more Category 4, more Category 5, and it seems like they're increasing in severity. So it does seem like, yes, there are
There's-
less, but it seems
there's-
like they're worse.
There's no consensus on whether or not there's a significant increase in severity. There is a
But there's
consensus
no
on that.
consensus on that.
There is absolutely consensus on whether or not how many hurricanes have touched landfall on the Atlantic coast. It's a very easy thing to measure,
So
right? Like
so
the
which,
severity.
My
so the
question to you
severity.
is,
Okay,
when we're
go
looking
ahead.
at projections, what are you going to point to? Do you have a source or something that you're going to point to?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can throw it in the chat.
Yeah, please do. Because I'm looking around and like at least on obviously climate.gov, right? Like it might be a bit biased, right? But I'm looking around.
Yeah, I'm
and
sure.
it seems
I'm
like
sure
they
some other sources are going to be biased
so
as well. right?
I'm looking in. I am genuinely trying to look into it, and I can find your claim. But whenever I find your claim, it seems to be also saying that the severity is increasing. So I'm trying to find your claim isolated.
And
I can't see that.
who's stating that severity is increasing significantly?
Let me get you the exact study, but it is in climate.gov. I believe it is a study by Roger A. Pale. I can't pronounce that name. I can post this stuff over.
Just give me the journal.
But isn't
that's
this kind of
fine.
irrelevant to the actual like topic of discussion?
Well, I think it's very relevant I think that climate change is very relevant to this discussion because if the climate is causing this
Okay,
to be more severe,
okay, so
you know,
but if it were not the case, that the climate change was causing it to be worse in this specific area, would your position change?
well, my position is that it is getting worse. So if it wasn't getting worse, then yeah, I think my position would slightly change.
But we're talking about the economic implications of climate change. We're not talking about if climate change existed.
No,
Johan,
but I
sorry,
guess what
No.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
say is
But
I guess what I'm trying to say is if these hurricanes are becoming more and more unpredictable, I'm putting a lot more onus on an individual if it's predictable and they're not doing the smart thing.
Yeah,
Versus
So,
a very
so there is.
unpredictable situation and then
Okay.
they get kind of caught out.
Insurance
I
is
guess
for
like-
before we-
non-predictable
hold on.
situations.
Before we get into like a study war about like what severity means and how we define severity, etc., let's just even the playing field because I feel like we can agree here without going into like all of these different things and kind of detracting from the conversation. So they're getting 1 to 2 miles an hour since 1900 stronger, but they are becoming less predictable. Climate deaths are way down, but property damage that is price inflation adjusted is going up, right? So the unpredictability, as well as let's say, deltas, river deltas being polluted in many ways or degraded in some ways, have made the property damage worse in many ways. So we have increased property damage, decreased deaths, and increase, if you will, in unpredictability. They're becoming more difficult to predict, while the technology it should be easier to predict them, right? Because you would think the meteorology is a science and the instruments would get better. So if you're talking about the onus specifically on individuals to purchase insurance in areas that normally shouldn't get hit, as climate change may potentially be causing them to become more unpredictable, you're right. right? So
Okay.
I'll just take that. You're right in
Sure.
that specific regard.
Hold on.
Yeah, so-
I want to. No, sorry, 1 second, because you called me out specifically at the start of this, and yet I've made no false claims, right? And I think you've just accepted everything that I said within that question, saying that the damage has been increasing, and they are more difficult to predict. And I can pull up. Like, it took me 2 seconds to pull up an article telling exactly how climate change helped strengthen this particular hurricane. So, like, how was I wrong? Right? So, calling me a liar here somehow?
Only a little bit. I said you're
Okay,
fear mongering. You're fear mongering because
fear mongering. Great.
you're fear mongering because deaths are down, and because it doesnn't actually matter because of the supply and demand equation with insurance in and of itself.
Sorry,
There's
nice
no
try,
reason. There's no. There's you'd
Nice
have to
try.
actually listen to the whole thing. I understand that you like to do univariate analysis because your IQ is about as high
I'm
as
sorry.
my
No.
AC
Look,
setting.
it's
listen.
really simple because you tried me. Like, everything I said within the question was correct. I have sources to say that all the assertions I made were correct. But then you're like, oh, you're pushing.
Okay, so let's go through your
fear
question.
mongering now about things that I didn't say. All right, great, thanks.
Okay, you
Fear
said
mongering about the concept of reality. What a novel concept.
Congress sometimes provide, but this can take a long time to arrive and it's difficult to obtain due to red tape. 1 second. Should we guarantee federal citizen if you don't say if these natural disasters will simply be a fact of life going in the future, would it not benefit the economy and society to have the reassurance that this devastation will be covered? I mean, I guess since this one is worded as a question, I'll take it. I'll just take it. Right? I'll just take it.
All right, then I'll leave it alone.
The principal issues still, however, is that if it's really likely that you're going to get hit by a hurricane and it's going to do a lot of damage, right? Then you need hurricane insurance.
Yes.
That doesn't necessarily
Is
represent
anyone
an
on this panel
onus.
disputing that?
That doesn't necessarily represent an onus. Well, they are by saying that we need the government to do it. That's not insurance.
Well, I'm not
That's
saying
taxpayer
that. And
money.
I'm saying something kind of similar, which is I'm
Right.
saying that, like,
If-
if you're not in a prone area
if it's
and it hits you
unlikely-
because of climate change, then, like, that's not your fault. Like, you couldn't have predicted that.
If it's unlikely, right, then it's cheap hurricane insurance, right? So then it's a cheap product to do. And so if it is likely, then it's an expensive product that is necessary, and you either need to move, sell your property if you can't afford the insurance rates, whatever that is, in order to rectify that situation. However, it's important that we recognize that while property damage may be going up in some areas, there is less landfall and there are much, much less deaths. And so it actually
Nobody
should be...
cares about... I don't think this discussion is about deaths.
There's
I don't
also
think
another
it is.
interesting thing. There's also another interesting thing, which is that some of the damage that is done is people that haven't built, like, and I don't know how you lefties want to take this, but like sometimes when hurricane resistant buildings haven't been built and hurricane resistance have been built, those buildings topple and then take out the hurricane resistant buildings because the other buildings don't have those things. And I think this is more of a reason to involve the private insurance industry, because the percentile of hurricane resistant buildings in your neighborhood should affect your insurance rates, as should whether or not your building is hurricane resistant or not. And I think adding more state interference and government red tape is going to make this problem ever more expensive and problematic in a way that would be cheaper, more efficacious, and better for everyone if we just accept the reality that if you don't have money for flood insurance or hurricane insurance and you live in an area where that could happen, you're fucking dumb.
So what I ask, and I'm genuinely asking you this, right? I know that you don't have meteor insurance, right? I guarantee you that you have not bought meteor insurance, right? Let's say tomorrow an asteroid hits your block and takes out your neighborhood, right? Nobody was harmed, everyone was out and about, right? So it's fine, right? But your entire block is destroyed, right?
Right.
So
For the world.
Okay, we're doing a hypothetical.
There's a company selling it. There's a company selling it, by the way.
It's one of those
Oh my
common fucking Russian meteoroids, all right? That just hits
Okay.
every now and then in Siberian.
$20,
Nukes out
$25.
portion.
So a Florida company selling meteor insurance, you pay $25 a year, you get $10 million in coverage.
Okay,
and
but,
the
like,
reason
what
is
I'm-
because the market has provided that the risk of a meteor is very low.
Wait, hold on, but
There you go.
You didn't
You
let
would
me
actually
finish
be
my
benefiting
thought.
if a meteor hit your house. Go ahead.
yeah, but
So
meteors are would actually be covered under like most like home insurance
Yeah,
policies.
usually.
Like, standard one.
It'd be
So
considered
So
an
I'm doing
act of God.
I'm doing a hypothetical right now, right? So
Something
like
that's not covered by insurance.
I
I'm
need
listening.
to
I'm all here for
okay,
it.
then let me finish, please. Oh my god.
Yeah,
I didn't bring it up that it
No.
existed.
Oh my god.
Oh my
let
god.
Ashley
Shut
get through
up.
it, and
Jesus.
then we can all move on with our lives here. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So,
So,
Scott's been
let's
obliterated by a
say-
meteor. All right, my fantasy
Yeah,
creature.
let's
Go
say
ahead.
you don't have an insurance that covers it. You have insurance that covers every natural disaster except this one because this one was just not one that like was considered at all a risk, right?
Okay.
So to me, I see it as like it is not at all reasonable for you to ever buy this insurance, right? And for a company, they might tack it on to like some premium deal, but like they're not gonna offer it because it's just not worth offering, right? So I guess what my question is I think in this case the government probably shouldn't bail out this block of people because it just being destroyed, right? Like there's no predictability behind it, right? It's not a dumb decision that the block made. There isn't any decision that the block made, right? There's no reason to think that this would ever happen.
So let me answer your question from several grounds. Number one, I think plenty of insurance companies probably could offer that as an act of God, and that's just one more thing that they get to advertise that might be funny. You know what I mean? Like it very easily, it's of no financial risk to them whatsoever to tack
They
on an extra
offer it
50
now.
cents. Yeah. But let's assume you don't have it, right? What I would argue, right, is that taxpayer dollars is stolen money, and I don't believe. Oh, damn it! My fucking headset went out. Hold on, give me a second.
Everyone's got tech issues.
Circle back to me.
Oh, I can't hear you, Prime.
All right. Does anyone else want to jump in, or is Scott back already?
I can talk about like the way insurance works here. I mean, the idea is that you have insurance policies that offer like comprehensive coverage, and they may have certain exclusions that you can add back in with endorsements if you want to have extra coverage in certain areas. But generally speaking, like there are home insurance policies you can buy that the rule is they basically cover everything unless they specifically exclude it, and then they give you like a base rate. Here's what you pay. Like it covers basically everything except for these specific things. And oftentimes flood is left out because, they want you to buy that separately because there's unique risks to that. But there's plenty of comprehensive insurance policies right now that cover, crazy things like meteor strikes or, sinkholes, stuff like that. So I think that this idea that, again, it seems odd to me because, I didn't expect this much of love for landowners, right? I always thought there was like a dislike for landowners and we want to like help renters out. But this seems to me like we want to bail out the landowners for not buying insurance on their properties that they're collecting rent from or living in. But like, aren't we taking rentoids' money and we're sending that over to landowners when we bail them out? Doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, it's just really
can I
weird
add
that you're
something?
attacking a position that I've not said or made. That's all.
And they have insurance. That's why they get the federal backstop.
What?
What?
Would you expand on that? Sorry.
They have insurance. That's the only way that they get the federal backstop. Other than that, they get some basic FEMA assistance, but we don't rebuild their homes for them.
Were they?
We have a problem with the FEMA,
The
right? We don't
people who
care if
live
people buy
inside
insurance.
of like the flood zone during hurricanes. Or during other natural disasters, if you want to widen the conversation.
Do you want to make an argument? I don't understand what you're saying. You're just saying a thing exists. Cool.
You said...
What's your argument?
That... Oh, okay. I forget which one of you said it. The whole point is you can't go, well, if they don't buy insurance. No, these people who are in the floodplain who are getting their homes rebuilt by FEMA have insurance. That's why they get the money. I'm not sure what part of that is... I'm not sure what part of that you're having trouble with.
I don't think that's true. Only 18% of Floridians have flood insurance, but FEMA's giving a lot more than 18% of Floridians money. Nobody has an issue with people like cashing out on an insurance policy. I don't think anybody here in this panel has a problem with that. What we have a problem with is people not paying insurance and then like getting money for everyone else for their short-sighted decision to not buy insurance.
The great majority of the money that's getting paid out is going to be paid out through the National Flood Insurance Program. It seems a little bit like we're arguing on the margins here.
But can you imagine a situation in which someone does have flood insurance, both private and through maybe FEMA insurance, but they still don't have enough to cover, what it takes to bring back their house that they just lost?
Definitely. I guess the question becomes, what should we do in that case?
Well,
my question to you, that's what I'm asking.
What should we do
all
in
these
that
policies
case?
have deductibles, right? So, you should
I
probably
would
try to get a
say
low
we have
deductible.
and limits.
If
I would
your
say we do
deductible
have
is
to
really
set
high,
some sort of standard, but
well, if your deductible is really high,
I gave my initial position at the beginning, where I told you that we should probably backstop it the first couple of times. After that, if your house keeps getting demolished and you want this federal backstop, you got to move your ass up out of the floodplain.
Why?
Right.
Why give them
It's going to become untenable for people to live in some of these areas, and for us to continue to use federal money to rebuild.
Okay, but why should we give them
the market can already
federal money before we say, hey, we're cutting you off?
Yeah,
sorry,
that
I didn't
makes
hear
no
all
sense.
that because I was still talking, so I'm not sure why you felt that was the time to ask the question.
You were saying really
Now
dumb
ask
shit,
it.
so I decided to interrupt you. So you said,
I
you
mean,
sound like you
I'm
said,
not going to let you interrupt me. Just
we
because
let
you
him
got
do it
mouth,
two
so.
times. Let him do it 2 times, and then if their home keeps getting
then
demolished,
after
then we say,
that-
hey, you're cut off. Yeah,
Yeah,
why would we
do
give them
need to cut
2
people
homes
off
worth
at
of
some
federal
point.
money?
Because we've already agreed to do it.
No, we haven't.
People have gotten their houses rebuilt through this program 8, 9, or 10 times.
Are you talking
We
about?
don't
I don't
need to
agree.
continue
Are you
doing
talking about
that.
the insurance program, or are you talking about government money separate from the insurance program? Because none of us here have an issue with the insurance program, and the NFIP is an insurance program.
The NFIP is a backstop for the federal insurance program in these floodplains. Those are the majority of the people who are getting hit and are getting their houses washed out.
We can
insurance
argue on the margins
if you want to, but
Is
Like,
anyone
it's
here
just another
against
risk pool.
insurance people getting paid money when they're when the
I'm
condition of their
sure we
insurance?
do have a difference on where we care about where the money comes from, because I've definitely heard people differentiate between private insurance and money coming from the government.
Okay.
So
I
mean,
maybe we
that's
should
my
figure out what
I'll never-
everybody's view on that is and then circle back.
I'll never question a check from the government.
Spoken like a true capitalist. Okay.
So
Right?
I want to ask then Doobie a question. Doobie, do you think that you're saying that why should we help a person rebuild their home twice? Okay, then should we help them rebuild once? So we had the situation with I can't remember all these fucking hurricanes. Sandy, I think it was, where like it hit New Jersey and just like wiped out those beach homes, right? Anything that was near the coast was just gone, right?
Yep.
Do you think that we should ever have any governmental assistance at all? Well, when something like that happens, because there was like
I think-
governmental assistance. Go ahead.
I think I'm okay with giving them like emergency supplies, right? Food, water, temporary shelter, right? But beyond that, no, we don't rebuild their homes. Yeah, sorry, your beach home is gone. You didn't get insurance on it, so you fucked up. Go somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm from New Jersey. Most people who live on the shore, or the people that were most affected by Hurricane Sandy, most likely probably did have insurance for their homes. It's the reconstruction of our beaches and our boardwalk that incurred most of the FEMA recovery, I think, in New Jersey.
Too bad they're not privatized.
Should that money be
so-
backstopped by FEMA? Yay or nay?
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what a backstop is. Can someone explain that to me? What a backstop is in this context?
So a lot of the time, these insurance policies aren't going to pay out enough for people to rebuild their houses, and we make up the difference using FEMA money.
Okay, so it seems like people have enough to rebuild their houses, right? I mean, that's the goal.
Yeah, it's like a top up.
Well, no,
type of thing.
but the problem is that it's a tax on everybody else to subsidize
Yeah.
people
Yeah,
living
sure.
in places where
Sure.
they should be paying more for insurance, and so it's a tax on
They
everybody
have higher
else.
limits.
Sure, we can debate
Right.
on where our taxes go, sure. But I'm
Nowhere.
not sitting. I'm not sitting here going to debate,
Right,
whether
like,
our taxes
if-
So
should
then,
go
at the,
towards
but
so
no,
then
but-
right
insurance
there, we
funds.
already do have one person, at least on this panel, who does have a problem with the federal backstop.
Yes.
of
What are you
insurance.
talking?
Absolutely.
That's what the contention has been this entire time.
Yeah, the
That
idea
has
is
not
that
been what
Welcome to the conversation.
Because I definitely heard one of you say earlier that everybody here is okay with it. No, everybody
No,
here is
so
not okay. with it.
everyone-
We need to figure out what the difference is.
everyone
Oh
here
my
is
God.
okay with like people cashing out on an insurance policy. The idea of what an insurance policy is sharing risk, right? So if I make a contract with somebody, I'm going to pay you this much a year in premiums, and then you're going to give me a policy which will pay up to a certain limit if this thing happens. If that thing happens, they'll pay you up to the limit. There are policies in Florida which will pay for the full replacement value of your house. If you want your house replaced, you should buy that insurance policy. And you should pay the extra premiums because your neighbor, right, who maybe doesn't want to pay that much, maybe they want to gamble, maybe they get to save that money and spend money on maybe gambling or whatever other degenerate shit they do in Florida.
Whatever Florida
They-
man does.
Yeah, whatever Florida people do, right? And they want to spend
Right.
the money doing that shit. Maybe they don't want to buy the insurance, and now they're putting their property at risk. Like this is, it's incredible. Like this is people's property. It's yeah, they have rights over it, but like I don't understand why, especially lefties of all people, are so interested in helping people protect their property.
Because they
Using
want to see the
federal
public
money,
put it one
using
day.
federal money. It's like
Well,
Jesus.
so I want to interrupt here for just a moment and say that, there seems to be this dichotomy of either the private insurance industry can handle this unregulated, or that the government needs to step in with certain funds. And I want to say that there is a third position here, right? Which is, mutual aid. The best people that have done the most work and the most good in terms of like ratio for their resources in Louisiana, for example, after hurricanes, is the Cajun Navy, right? There are private organizations that give money to people, that collect charity, that are there way before Red Cross ever fucking shows up. The Cajun Navy is out there bailing people out in John boats and things like that, and cutting down trees, etc. So I want to make it clear too that just because I'm saying the federal government shouldn't use taxpayer monies to subsidize, with stolen money, subsidize other people in the event of emergencies, and they should get insurance. There are other areas of mutual aid and praxis from organizations and charity that can help these areas as well. So if you're some bleeding heart person that decides that you think these people really need help, then open up your fucking wallet and donate money to the Cajun Navy, and stop telling me that I need to have my money stolen from me so that I can support people living in an area that I don't give a fuck about. I don't give a fuck about your Florida beach house. You just as easily can go live in fucking Georgia or northern Florida where you'll be fucking fine.
So I think
But not
that the
every,
issue
not
is
every
this.
community has like an A team ready to go and mobilized commandos. Like not everybody can just mutually aid their way out of a flood.
Right, then donate money to the Cajun Navy because they do things
So-
for hurricane disaster relief all the time, and they're the fucking best at it.
I think the framing that you keep using of this Floridian beach house is very fundamentally like not what the main topic is about. It's about the areas that are not like beach houses, the areas that like you wouldn't expect to flood and don't have high risk of flooding. So when you keep pushing it back to like, oh, your beach house flooded, I think you're really changing what the problem is. And you're then pointing to like people that like I wouldn't defend not having flood insurance, but like when we're talking about people that are not in common flood zones, right?
Can you?
I mean,
be
that's fair.
specific
I
as to-
sometimes I forget that like to left-wing people, there's a principal difference in terms of whether or not you believe in freedom based off of whether or not someone's rich or poor. And so I'll go ahead and use your examples and say like,
That's not
let's
at
just
all
talk
what I'm saying.
fucked up
That's
neighborhood
not at all what I'm saying.
where no
That's
one
not at
believes
all
that
what I'm
anything would
saying.
occur.
Can you like not strawman me for like 1 second? So I'm not all saying it's because they're like poor. It could be a mansion like in the hills, right? But the difference here is we're not talking about a beach house. When you're saying beach house, every single time you're saying beach house, right? That has like a connotation to it, does it not? that like has a meaning.
Again, I've made this argument multiple times and already addressed this, but let me say it one more time. If it's less likely that a hurricane hits in this area, but still a conceivable outcome, the hurricane insurance is cheaper. If it's really likely, the hurricane insurance is more expensive. So if you live in an area that's not as likely, but still in fucking Florida, where your entire state sticks into the fucking Gulf and fucking is hit by hurricanes all the goddamn time, and flooding occurs everywhere there, just not as bad as usual, and you don't have that insurance, well, then you're the fucking dumbass that did that. You reap what you sow. Get fucking flood insurance if you live anywhere in Florida.
But that's why I guess we're trying. The discussion is around this is areas that aren't expected to be flooded, right? If you would rather, we can move this up north to Georgia, right, or somewhere else.
And sometimes the weatherman says it's going to be 80 degrees and it's 72. The weatherman's not fucking God. You live in fucking Florida, it's going to be hot.
Okay,
you live in Florida, you're going to get hit by hurricanes.
As it's like, I think the framing on this is the problem, right? You keep framing it as like they're stupid for not doing this, when it's like not everyone can afford to have this many insurance policies. Some people live paycheck to paycheck. 2, they're not in areas that are like at all like expected to be flooded, right? And yeah, we're not God, but like I think it's reasonable to say, hey, the entirety of Florida doesn't get flooded every fucking hurricane, right?
Ashley,
of course not. But listen. If the capitalist landlord, if the capitalist landlord who gains profit via resource allocation loses their home because they're living paycheck to paycheck, they should have fucking sold that house long ago. If they're living paycheck to paycheck,
start renting.
If they're a homeowner living paycheck to paycheck and they can't afford to protect their home in the event of a disaster, they should sell their fucking home and use that to invest in a cheaper home. They need to do something. You shouldn't be living paycheck to paycheck and be a homeowner at the same time. It's a bad idea.
And when you control for, and this is the thing, right? So when we're talking about property owners in Florida, we're not talking about like poor people who don't have the means anymore, because we're selecting for a group that is disproportionately wealthy. The median, not even the average, the median home price in Florida in 2021 was $348,000. That's the median.
It's not only homes, it's also businesses.
Yeah, if you're a business,
you should definitely buy insurance without flood insurance.
And why should we be expected to bail out your business because you didn't buy insurance?
So my question to you, like, let's move this up, right? Let's say that you're in Wyoming, right? And you own a coffee shop in Wyoming, right? And like, you know, not many people go to your coffee shop in Wyoming. So like, it's kind of hard to like get business, right? And like, you don't buy flood insurance. And then a random storm happens that floods your entire business, right? Okay, you're fucked. Okay, all your investment's gone.
That's the risk of that's literally. So this is literally the risk of owning a business.
That's called capitalism.
Yes, that's capitalism. Is
the justification someone for something that's completely out of their control. That they could have never predicted.
Profit is what you get for investing capital for interest because of the universal time preference. People want something now as opposed to the exact same thing later, and proper resource allocation. What you just described is a bad capitalist that is not engaged in proper resource allocation, and that's why other businesses succeed and some businesses fail, because this dumbass's coffee wasn't good enough for them to get have enough profits in order to fucking purchase flood insurance. They're a shit business giving a shit service. That's why they're living paycheck to paycheck, and they need to fucking fail, and they need to go back to the fucking drawing board.
And they don't have hurricane insurance.
But what I'm trying to say is that like so again, what I would say is if you had to buy all these insurances, right? And they're like excess costs, right? I think that like keeping a business afloat and having a chance at like continuing to make money is probably a really good decision for you, rather than saying, I'm going to quit this business, be out of a job, suddenly like lose kind of like your investment into it. Like, let's say that you were trying to keep it afloat and then you decide it's not worth it. Like, yeah, that money's gone that you put in to keep it afloat, right? And you just lose it, right? You're saying that these people should just get a new job, but like, it's not that simple, right? Like if you...
No, I'm not. What I'm saying is you're stealing money from other people that are working via taxation to support a program to help businesses that make stupid decisions and have bad products that don't make them enough money so that you can help the capitalist class with the individual that's working a regular job. And what I'm saying is your theft is not justified. If they can't afford it, they shouldn't be doing it.
This fundamentally goes over to like an idea of taxation, right? I'm in favor of taxation. So inherently, we're going to never be able to even agree on a like framework of this because you're going to always say that's theft. I'm going to always say it's not theft. So this discussion.
No, it's fine. I can stay in the consequential. I can stay in the consequentialist framework where I don't bring up the fact that your theft is unjustified, right? We can set that to the side. And let's assume, which we can't logically do, but let's assume that the theft via form of taxation is justified. What you're doing is you're engaging in subsidizing a market that is not profitable, that does not give people the goods and services that they want enough in order to stay afloat. And what you're doing is taking money out of the economy to do that. You're hurting everybody by doing that. You're hurting the people that want good coffee. You're hurting the businesses that do have enough money to provide flood insurance because they make a better product, but instead they have this different form. And hopefully it's not some arbitrary means where we're trying to have an equitable difference in business owners. Who fucking knows how much red tape is involved in there? But you're also hurting regular people who are working because some of their money that they could take out and invest is taken from them to subsidize a company that is shit with their resource allocation. They don't know what they're doing. They're bad business.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that, like, I think saying that it's a good business decision to buy insurance that, like, there's no logical reason to assume that you would ever need, right? I don't know why this is suddenly a bad business decision. It seems like a.
Do you have renter's insurance?
Yeah, I do. I'm required by the state of California to have it.
Would you or would you not have renter's insurance if California didn't
I
require
probably would. But like, what I'm saying is, yeah. Because
what is the likelihood that your apartment will be broken into and all of your shit stolen? Is that worth the $11 or $9 a month you pay in renter's insurance?
Honestly, with where I tend to live, yes. I think that's likely enough that, yeah. But what I'm trying to describe is, I don't think that that's a fair analogy. Because what I would say is that, like, these places don't even have a risk of flooding. Like, Wyoming does not have a risk of flooding. But
obviously they do, because they flooded. Like, yes, clearly there's a risk of flooding.
But that's what we're trying to get into. Like, the unpredictability of hurricanes is what's causing stuff like that to happen. So what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to bring up an area that's completely away just to see if you would be logically consistent. Then we can move it closer and closer, right? And then we can draw the line there. Well, I'm trying to say,
I want to get some other people in. So does anyone else want to?
I was going to anyways.
I go ahead. Does anyone else want to jump in?
Yeah, because even with moving it to like Wisconsin, like I said before, like, you know, they still have their own natural disasters. Like California has the fault line, so they're prone to earthquakes. The Midwest gets tornadoes. You know, so things like nature. So I would assume those areas probably, if you know, flooding is not a big concern, but there probably are other natural disasters that they do have concerns with, and that we would have the same eye-rolling, eyebrow-raising response to if they didn't have their proper insurance for those things. Like if you're living in California near a fault line and you don't have earthquake concerns, and you know FEMA has to come in and build your house over for you because you know earthquake hit and it fucked up your house. I probably have the same opinion to the people who have their house fucked up in Florida without flooders insurance, you know? So I think it's the same thing.
Can I ask a question just to anybody? I live in Virginia, right? I live in Virginia. Now, in Virginia, we do get hit by hurricanes. They're very rarely do they do a lot of damage. But they do some damage. Occasionally, people do get that insurance. But let's bring out the scope in terms of natural disasters. Tornadoes, incredibly rare, do very little property damage. Earthquakes, incredibly rare, and when they do register, they're like a 2 or a 3 on the Richter scale. They knock over a couple lawn chairs, right? So in terms of U.S. states safe from natural disasters, Virginia is like really fucking safe from natural disasters unless you live really close to the coast. Why is it that a struggling business or people living in Virginia that chose to settle in Virginia must have why is it that some percentage of businesses, right, are required to fail? Some businesses must be shut down by increased taxation from the government that's completely involuntary to them. But even if it's a 0.1% increase in taxes, that means that at least one business is likely to fail that would have succeeded. Why does that business have to close so that they can subsidize keeping open another business in another area of the country that they're not involved in? Why is it that you want to play tit for tat for balancing the scales of environmental justice to steal money from people who are hardworking Americans in Virginia that don't have these concerns because other people can't afford flood insurance? Why is that acceptable and okay?
I would say it's acceptable and okay because we are the United States of America. There's 50 states, and we also have some territories that, we
who's not feeling real united? The people that are crushed by taxes so that they can save people in California whose businesses are ruined by your government policies. It's not a lot of uniting. It's just a lot of stealing.
People who got hit by the hurricanes.
Or people
they
in
both
DC.
lost their business. They both lost their building. They both lost everything. Why are they worse? Because they live.
Because losing a little bit of money for taxes and losing your entire building and your home and perhaps people you care for is a little bit of a step above like a small tax increase.
A small tax increase requires a small tax increase. A small tax increase requires that some people, their business is going to fail.
Yeah, because some businesses are on the margins as it
That's
is.
what you were saying. If you can't afford a small tax increase, isn't that a failing business? Shouldn't we not?
Well, no,
subsidize
because
those
if they were succeeding without the increase, but they were on the margins, then they were barely skating by, and then the increase knocked them over, and they failed because of that. So
one was involuntary, forced upon them to protect someone else's business.
Well, I would say the same. If Virginia got hit by a horrible flood, right, and all the let's say all the buildings in the inland of Virginia got destroyed, and people lived there, they didn't buy flooders.
Hurricane Isaac, 2007, it wiped out Richmond City, and we rebuilt. What about it?
Yeah, I don't think it's reasonable, from what you're saying, that somebody in the inland would have insurance.
I don't think it's reasonable that a coffee shop in Seattle has to close due to government taxation to protect Richmond from a freak hurricane. I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, but if a freak hurricane...
Wait, so hold on. So does this only apply to natural disasters? Ashley, if somebody broke into your house and stole all your shit, but you didn't have renter's insurance, you think it'd be reasonable for you to be able to reach into the taxpayer's wallet and buy your shit back?
I'm specifically talking about very unpredictable effects of climate change. That
getting robbed.
Pretty unpredictable that someone busts open your door and steals all your shit. It's a definition of unpredictable.
Well, it depends.
I agree. It's not likely, but it's also
depending where you live.
Depending where you live. Also, there's I don't know. Maybe I leave my door unlocked one day by accident, right?
Okay, so you're saying people in low crime rich neighborhoods, they deserve government assistance, but black people in inner cities, that the crime is predictable there, so they shouldn't get taxpayer money.
In general, I think for crime, it's just a different thing, and that you probably should just buy insurance for that.
Wait, what?
Yeah, but why is there a different standard there?
Why is there a different standard? Because I think it's logical, right? If your stuff's going to get stolen, or there's even a chance that it can, we're talking about areas where there's really not been a chance that they flood and then they suddenly flood.
How is it not logical that if you live anywhere in Florida, your shit might flood from a hurricane?
I mean, Florida's a diverse state. There's places that have never gotten
been to Florida.
Just look at a map. Just look at a map of this fucking swamp known as Florida and watch it fucking stick out into the create the Gulf of Mexico.
All of Florida flood every single time that fucking hurricane happens?
No, but
Florida gets hit by the hurricane.
Florida flood. I think if you looked at a map of where flooding happens, right? I think there would be areas.
But Nevada doesn't get fucking hurricanes.
Actually, I hate to bring in personal kind of stories into this, but I have a very personal story. I went to college in Florida A&M University. It's a college in Tallahassee, right? And that's a city in Florida. I have to say that I had to miss classes because hurricanes hit us. And hurricanes don't hit Tallahassee that often. So I have to wonder if you've ever been to Florida to certainly understand the intricacies of what you're trying to say. That
So what
makes
I'm asking
Florida-
is, did your dorms flood?
did my dorms have to flood?
Well, no, I'm just asking, did they flood? Was flood insurance used there?
I'm sure my dorms were impacted by the floods. I'm not sure if there was any damage incurred now, because I mean we have pretty state of the art.
Probably
dorms.
had sandbags.
Yeah, like we have pretty state of the art dorms because we have fucking
Because
hurricane
you live in
insurance.
Florida.
We have like buildings that are built for hurricanes in Florida. Like that's
I'm just
how
saying,
Floridians are.
Florida's also a giant fucking swamp. All right,
Oh,
it does
yeah.
not retain water very well. Like there are like in Virginia, if we get a fuck ton of rainfall, like the soil absorbs a lot of the rainfall. Florida and and like southern Georgia and like southern Mississippi and like southern Louisiana, not the same. Like a little bit of rainfall and that water is like sitting on top of the roads.
I actually really like the analogy to theft, like somebody breaking your house, because it actually makes it's almost directly comparable, right? You have Floridians who are disproportionately wealthy, right? You have the idea of if you live in a super rich, safe neighborhood, you're disproportionately wealthy. Maybe you don't. It's not predictable that you're going to get robbed. So if the idea or the principle is, well, it's not very predictable, so we should pay you back for it. And the idea is, well, if you live in like a rich area, or if you live in Florida, then like it's not predictable in some areas. It just seems to be like a one-to-one analogy there, right? Like why shouldn't we be paying off? Like if you live in a low-crime neighborhood and you get your shit broken into, like why shouldn't we be paying you money if we're going along with this whole strategy of, well, we pay you if you don't predict it well enough to buy insurance, which by definition is protecting against risk.
Well, if you want the actual answer behind that, it's that I think climate change is something that the U.S. government has not done an effort to fix. So I think that we're all kind of responsible for it.
Well,
how do you expect
it affects global climate change? Or is there just
How do you-
one country in
how
the
do you
world?
expect-
Collective guilt. I've heard this before. It usually puts people in gulags.
Also, aren't Floridians like disproportionately responsible for climate change compared to like other people? Why are we benefiting them from what they disproportionately caused by being so wealthy and buying these grand estates?
Go ahead, Nutella.
Yeah, and I mean, how can we expect the government to legislate on something that 10 people in a Discord chat can't agree on? That that if climate change actually exists,
Are you making the case that climate change doesn't exist? I thought we established that.
No, I'm not making the case that climate change exists. I'm just
Do
saying.
you want me to send you sources that specifically affects this? Because
Are you looking into what I just said?
agree.
Are you just gonna let me? Are you gonna let me talk? Thank you.
Go for it.
Yeah, you asked me a question. You asked me if I believe that climate change exists, and if I'm suggesting that climate change doesn't exist. I'm specifically telling you I'm not.
Okay. So I'm saying that we agreed at the beginning that yes, hurricanes are getting more severe. Me and Fabian agreed on that, right?
Sure.
So if you disagree with that, I can send you the sources right now that that's the case.
No,
Do
but
you disagree on that.
No, but my disagreement isn't on whether hurricanes are severe. It's how you expect the government to legislate on something that,
I'm just
can't
clarifying that we
agree
all
with
are
them.
on the same page.
Okay,
You
yeah.
can't. It's called the economic calculation problem.
Okay,
You fucking can't.
Well, what I'm trying to ask is, do we at all disagree that climate change is making hurricanes worse?
Yeah, but I don't think that anybody can like really stop it.
Okay, but I'm just trying to establish, do we
No
all
single
agree
person
that
can
climate,
stop
What was the question you asked? Ashley, I didn't hear it.
do we all agree that climate change is making hurricanes worse and more unpredictable?
I would say it's likely. I
Yes.
wouldn't say like definitively, right? Like,
Yeah, I'm not
mean,
sure either.
I would say the same thing.
But I would say
it
it's
makes-
likely. Like it's
I would say
more
it
like
makes sense.
more likely than not that climate
Yeah.
change has an effect on hurricanes.
Does
But I mean-
anyone disagree with that? It's likely.
Nobody disagrees with that, Ashley.
Okay, I'm just clarifying because then if we're talking about government legislation, right?
Yes.
And in terms of like government guilt of climate change, I would say that the US definitely has done bad policies that have caused more climate, like more CO2 to go into the atmosphere. That probably.
Are we sure
I
about that?
agree. I agree. The creation of the Environmental Protection Agency and granting immunity from suit to corporations so that it can go through the government for the environmental damages that they cause is something that we should get rid of. And I'm so glad that you're here to ban the EPA with me and allow the market to be able to accurately be able to deal with climate change.
Isn't everybody who like drives like a gas powered vehicle contributing to climate change?
Absolutely.
Well, then why should we be subsidizing the people that are contributing to this thing that you are blaming the hurricane on?
Well, I'm not blaming the hurricane on that specifically. I'm saying that there's like a lot of things that we could do. We could do a carbon tax, right? Like you could look at stuff that like was put forth in Paris.
Carbon taxes make climate change worse, right?
Well, let Doobie handle
But like,
this. Go ahead, Doobie.
okay, but like, so if we were to do what you're suggesting, it seems like sorry, 1 second.
Of course.
Something weird's happened on his end.
Let's save Florida and just deregulate nuclear, please, for the love of God.
Also,
Yeah, we honestly need more nuclear energy. I actually agree with
Yeah,
you.
we
on
should
that.
have nuclear energy. I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, nuclear energy is
I don't think
actually really
coolness is the argument, or like the biggest argument for nuclear energy.
God, are you for
Well,
nuclear
you know,
energy?
it's just good for the environment. I think
I'm back.
it's clean.
Yeah,
I
more
know
on
that there's no pollution
Okay,
and carbon.
It depends how much we deregulate it.
So actually, like, so given the fact that climate change is affecting this thing, right? And we know this, and it's been blasted out over the airwaves for decades, right? With like I would say some alarmist like zeal, right? Exaggeration in some cases. So given that's the case, and given that people in Florida or people all over the country have access typically to the internet, to the TV, to the things that are going to show them all the climate change alarmism, they should be aware that hey. Hurricanes are more unpredictable. We can't really trust the weather maps, so I should get flood insurance. I should get hurricane insurance. I should get wildfire insurance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. So the fact that we understand that this is being contributed to by climate change, and people have been informed about this for decades. I think the fact that they would like lean on like old knowledge, old flood maps, old etc. Knowing that it's going to be more unpredictable, that it's going to be worse, is just more evidence that they're not being responsible, and that the responsible person listens to the alarmism and gets some fucking flood insurance.
Right.
Yeah,
they're
because
homeowners.
people don't have time to listen to the alarmism. They have jobs.
This is proper resource allocation. Okay, that's all it is. When you purchase property and you are too stupid to get flood insurance, right? You're punished by the market when your house is wiped the fuck out.
So,
like
okay,
we have something. Go ahead.
You go first, Doobie, please.
So I do insurance, right? Like that's what I do for a living. I own a brokerage, a pretty large one, and I've had situations where somebody has a cabin out in the fucking mountains somewhere, right? Doesn't even have an address. Like the address is like a road and like a with like a mailbox on it, like a mile away from where their actual cabin is. And I tell this guy like, hey, this thing costs you $150,000 to put up there. You need to get it insured. No insurance companies will want to cover this fucking thing because they understand that California has a ton of wildfires and this guy's surrounded by trees, so they don't want to insure this. So California has the California Fair Plan, right, which is like a government-backed thing that all the insurance carriers are forced to pay into to cover specifically these people that can't get insurance anywhere else because no insurance company wants to cover this. And understanding all that, I can lay it out for them. Say, hey, this area has a wildfire every few years or so. You should get this insurance. $150,000. It'll cost you like $500 a year. It's not that big a deal. They will not fucking do it because they're just dumb. They say, hey, it's not gonna happen. No, it's not a big deal. Hey, if there's a fire, I'll go out there with my fucking water hose. It's fine. Like it's ridiculous, right? So if that's their decision. Right, if they understanding the risks, they're in California in the fucking mountains in a cabin with no fucking insurance, then hey, if their fucking cabin burns down and it costs them $150,000, then that's on them. Why should I need to pay for them, for them to rebuild their fucking cabin?
I also want to point out, just to add to what Doobie's saying, like excess surplus insurance companies exist, right? Like so, even in these like weird places where you're like, maybe they can't get insurance, etc. There are companies, right? Like what is it?
Lloyd's
James River?
James River is really good. Lloyd's really good. You can insure fucking anything. They will insure anything for the right amount of money.
Exactly. Like there are excess surplus companies where a majority of what they do in insurance, their entire moneymaker is insurance underwriting. Like that's where they make their bread and butter, because they take all these gray areas, these weird places, these company like a gas station that's in a super high crime area, or something that they couldn't go to Markel and get fucking insurance, but they can go to James River or Lloyd's and they can get insurance. Like there doesn't need to be government assistance for this. Like excess surplus insurance companies do this all the time. And then other insurance companies layer their policies on top of each other so that if like some giant disaster occurs, the company itself has insurance over like a certain amount of millions of dollars from another insurance company that they pay to cover them in the event that something crazy happens. There's no need for government theft in this regard, especially once you add in charity and mutual aid and, things like the Cajun Navy, etc. Fact of the matter is that if you want to take this risk, you take this risk. It's really that simple.
Question for you.
Real quick, 1 second. I just want to read what they are. I've never heard of it.
I
Excess
can
and
read
surplus.
what Scott while we wait. So
Revolution?
I heard you say earlier that we should let the market take care of climate change. Would you like to expand on that thought for us?
He's a libertarian.
Yeah, but I mean, it has
Yeah.
to work in a certain way. It can't work by magic, so I assume he can explain it to us.
Yeah, so
You're right.
one of the big problems with the reason that there is quote unquote a market failure, even though theoretically a market failure should only describe situations in a free market, and I only think they exist with state intervention. But nevertheless, there is a quote unquote market failure because governments have created the regulations that punish businesses for what it is that they do in terms of pollution. And so because the state has this control over it, the state is the one that actually allows all of these massive polluting industries to exist. And so they're subsidized by the protection of the state. And so then we create things like the Environmental Protection Agency where we're going to fine them, et cetera, right? But the problem is that then you get regulatory capture. And so we saw a great example of regulatory capture where the government actually makes the problem worse is asbestos, right? All of the small construction companies, once we realized how dangerous asbestos was, that were required to do asbestos removal in order to do jobs, they basically went out of business. A lot of residential construction businesses did that, but larger businesses were able to meet the demands that the EPA set up. But if you had a situation where you were able to sue people that poisoned you and actually able to punish people effectively for at the very least first order consequences, I don't think second and third order consequences really work in a framework of natural law, but in first order consequences. So, you're next to a factory and they poison the water, for example. Instead of having to go through the EPA, for example, the teflochloride, the teflocarbons, right? They poisoned the fuck out of these people. And the government and the EPA work together with this corrupt system to allow this company to essentially get away with it for 100 years plus and never have to pay anybody because of the way the legal structure is actually designed to protect large corporations that put these politicians in power to begin with. And then what do? We get things like cap and trade in the UK. Right? In 1997, they're like, oh, we're going to institute cap and trade systems. And then what we found 10 years later is, hey guys, our carbon dioxide's actually down. Well, not if you actually look at the carbon dioxide from imported things that they manufactured in China, which realizes they actually made the situation worse with cap and trade. And so every time that the government gets in, you have this economic calculation problem where they're attempting to determine the price of goods and resources, and they're also attempting to find the marginal social cost, right? The MSC that changes presumably the price demand equation. And what ends up happening is you have wasted resources that could be going towards innovation, new technologies, and could be punishing the businesses that actually pollute and harm the most.
So that answers your question, Revolutionary. After that, Ashley, you had something you wanted to add. So, Revolutionary.
I would add a follow-up. So, would you say that we should get rid of the EPA? And if so, what should we replace it with? Because
we should get rid of the EPA and we shouldn't replace it.
Hold on, let me finish the question. Because I don't think we've gotten to a point where these companies are just going to self-regulate, we haven't really seen an example of that. So there clearly needs to be some system in place.
Yeah, a legal system. Sue them.
Do you think that suing for climate change is a reasonable thing?
I think
Just
suing
like-
for first order. I think that suing for first order consequence property damage and damage to one's body is reasonable. I think the idea that you sue someone in a car and then like the CO2 in the car goes in the atmosphere and it's with 7 billion other people. Well, we'll say 5.5 billion other people also doing some form of CO2 pollution is not a reasonable thing. But I think that if you live next to a factory and they poison your water or they poison your air supply or they damage your roof in some regard because of the smog that they're putting out is perfectly reasonable. And I think deregulation of things like nuclear, which is far less riskier and far better and far cheaper, I think that these are solutions and I think the market provides these solutions. Yeah.
So I think.
See, what
think
about companies? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, like, if I live, let's say, like, I live in a area where there's not directly a factory next to me, but I am equally affected as by climate change as many other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who can I sue for that?
Again, those would be second or third order consequences, right? Like if listen, hear me out.
How would I ever stop a factory that's like not directly next to any property from producing as much like CO2 as it wants?
We have this problem legally currently, right? So like you're familiar with the butterfly effect, right? Like a butterfly flaps wings and it causes a hurricane in Florida and floods people that don't have flood insurance, right? So
good movie.
Right. Great movie. Right. So let's say, I push somebody and then because I push somebody, they're angry and upset and their rage from the previous assault causes them to speed. And then because they're speeding, they drive into a gas station and then that gas station blows up. And then because that gas station blows up, and we do this over and over and over again, eventually you're harmed in some way. You can't sue the fucking guy who pushed the guy that got angry, right? Because these are second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth order consequences.
I guess my question would be like, what would the incentive of a company that like has its factories? Let's even give a good example. Like they're off on an island, right? Let's say somebody sets up their factories on this island, right? And they produce all the CO2 they want. They produce an insane amount. How would you ever stop them from doing that? You just wouldn't.
If I'm a local fisher, I'm a local village, I could pretty easily prove that the mercury. Listen, I'm pretty sure that I can prove that the damage that they're doing via mercury poisoning in the water is directly impacting and affecting. That would be a first order consequence if I can prove that they were doing that and that it directly affected my food supply as a business. That's a first order consequence.
I'm saying that there's a lot of these factories, they affect the entire world, right? And that like these regulations kind of stop that from happening, right? Like it's very hard
but
if
they don't.
It's not directly. Okay, how would you say that they don't?
The fact that they literally don't. I gave an example of the UK with cap and trade emissions in 1997 and how that actually created more pollution because they offset manufacturing in third world countries where the pollution was worse and then shipped all of those things to them. The state is not in the business of fucking over its rich corporate donors.
Oh, I would actually agree with you. And in terms of current climate acts and stuff, I might be for it if we were to repeal it, if we replace it with something else. Or
I would say this simply, right? If we had gotten rid of the EPA and we had drastically reduced taxes, FedEx already would have solved algae biofuel in all of our planes by now. But they've had to abandon that research and go and stick with government research because it wasn't profitable for them to be able to do so. But if the American government wasn't stealing 40 to 52% of all of the wealth from people, this is a problem that already would have been solved, at the very least, from all planes. And we could all stop bitching about people using private jets to go talk about climate change because they'd be using algae biofuel.
How do you deal with the lawsuits? Because typically companies build in their lawsuits and a fund for that. So if a company can make more money simply doing the pollution and then paying the lawsuit, how do you deal with that eventuality?
I mean, you're assuming
if they lose the lawsuit and they can afford the payment and they make more by doing the pollution and doing business as usual, Is there any way in
proved-
your system to account for that?
when you get rid of the state that caps lawsuits, right? Because the state does this all the time. They say like this is the maximum.
So
amount
these
you
are
can charge.
non-government courts we're talking about?
I'm an anarchist. Welcome to the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so
Okay.
right
And
when
how do
you
we
get rid
decide
of
what court we're using then?
Okay. All right.
no, you're getting too far into ANCAP. You're getting too far into ANCAP. So I'll answer
Yeah.
this one question and we'll get back on topic. Right? So when you get rid of those systems, if it is true that the damage that they have done is still offset by their own profits, you have proven that the value of the product is more valuable to humanity than the damage itself. And that it's a perfectly acceptable form of damage.
Okay. All right. So we're going to continue on to our next topic. Thank you all for participating in this one. Ashley put up a hell of a fight, so appreciate you on that one. Shout out to you, our friend.
Can I just say,
okay.
I think everyone should be in favor of deregulating nuclear a bit. Like we definitely should have more nuclear energy. It seems like a really good option, and I think everyone agrees here, and that should be a statement.
Called the watermelon test. If someone doesn't support deregulation of nuclear, I know they're green on the outside, red on the inside.
Okay. Thanks so much. Let's continue on. Hey, guys, if you're enjoying this content, hit that follow button. Make sure notifications are on, so you know I'm going live. And when I go live, I will eventually turn my camera on. So again, thanks all for sticking with us for that technical issue we were having at the start of the stream. But expect our social and chat for our social media. We got Discord, TikTok, YouTube, and I'm gonna think on Twitter. How about the channel? Subs to the channel. Sorry, not sub to the channel. Well, I mean, you can do that too. But in YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe is what I meant to say. But thanks so much. All right. We're gonna
Everything he said
continue on.
as well. These are all my socials,
topic
and
in 2020.
give us some money if you feel so inclined.
And this is the more explosive one.
I'm sure we'll all agree. 100%.
Maybe we will. We might. It's a possibility. It's happened when I think a topic is explosive, and it's like everyone's like, "Oh no, we all agree
Yes.
uniformly," and it's really fucking annoying. All right, so in 2020, a German director released a movie called "The Trouble with Being Born." It's about a realistic childlike android who may be experiencing a sexual assault from the adult owner. Should films like this be made? Should artistic license have a limit? Is a film like this dangerous to the public as it could increase interest in child sexual assault? Or should art always be allowed to flourish no matter the cost? Yeah, so I got... I actually learned something from Twitter. It was amazing because I just happened to open up Twitter and I saw someone else posted this thing. And yeah, it's like from 2 years ago. And it's exactly what it sounds like. There is a film. It has a character. It's not actually a real child. It's Hollywood magic, right? In Berlin, I guess. Berlin magic.
No, it's an actual child.
No.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
saying,
no.
oh my god, it's not. That's not that actual child though. Like that child is. There's a child playing it, but you don't see their face.
Sure. Yes, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So like it's a amalgamation of stuff that's happening.
They have two faces, but
there's that too. It's crazy. Anyway, the film is an interesting film. I have seen the film. It is in any case, it shows it depicts a sexual assault happening. What people would call sexual assault. This was a real child. Is this a backdoor way of putting in like what was called pedophile propaganda in the first article that I read, or is this just art and it adds to society by its existence or whatever the fuck, right? So we'll go down the line. And we'll start with Ashley.
Oh, I'm getting to start with all of them. I think that regulating art gets really, really difficult because like what ends up happening is there's no uniform meaning from art. I know there's art that other people have called transphobic, for instance, right? That I've thought actually depicts dysphoria better than any like trans art does, right? That I would point to. I think that like art doesn't have a necessary meaning. So like as long as it's not like literal child porn, like I think it's fine. I think that the issue in trying to regulate art is you're never going to be able to say this specific thing is bad without like also unintentionally maybe hitting something else with the same logic. I think art should not be regulated, and I think that the only regulation should be like it's not literally a crime like child porn.
Thank you. Let's go to our friend Scott.
Yeah, so I don't think art should be regulated either by the state. Obviously, I think it should be regulated by the market and by free association. When we look at this film, it is quite obviously pedophilic in nature, both philosophically and through the series itself. One thing I do want to correct is there's this idea that, well, it's just an android, except what we learn about halfway through the film is that the android itself was created or meant to symbolize the actual daughter. And as the timeline skips through, it's also clear that the voiceover portion, that is the inner monologue of the android, is experiencing what the original children, both Emil and the girl, were experiencing. And that's why we have this discongruence with 10 years before in Belgrade. So the scenes of Belgrade are not meant to show an android. They are meant to show an actual child that is being molested here, and is being, made sexy and all these other things. It's also incredibly surrealist and subversive in the way that it jumps time. There's like an incongruence of the ghosts. There's an incongruence of the kind of like inner monologue and the repetitions, right? So we start off with something that feels more human and it becomes less and less human as it goes on. So it's intended to disjar you because you're seeing and depicting these pedophilic scenes. And then eventually the android like is woven and subverted as less and less human. And many of the things that you think are its internal monologue or the things that it's saying are actually just repetitions that may have been pre-programmed into it. I think it's a disgusting piece of art. I think the idea that art is meaningless is bullshit. I think what art is an expression that is either a critique or prescriptive or descriptive of the world in which we live in compared against our own self-idea, or our idealized self. And our values and goals eke out from our artwork. Whether or not it's critiquing society, prescriptive, or it's descriptive of your own subjective analysis and the differences, I think that those things are present. I think that's why some art kind of speaks to us, because it shows some truth about who we are, what our goals are, what we want to be, the way that we think the world works in some way, or the way that we want to be. I think it seeps through this film that this person has some pretty gross ideas, and yet you shouldn't stop that. As gross as that is, as harmful as that may be in some regard, you shouldn't have the state intervening in art, because that is incredibly problematic and against that person's freedom. What you should do is what some of these film festivals did and said, go fuck yourself, we're not screening your goddamn film. Lastly, I want to say that if you doubt that there is some philosophy and that there's some expression of beliefs and ideas, one need only look to the fact that the second character is named Emil, that just so happens to be the author's name of the book that is the exact same title, which is Nihilist Aphorisms. And you know that you're dealing with a piece of philosophy that is anti-natalist in nature, perverse in many other ways, but mostly just meaningless leftist critiques of the world and how horrible reality, birth, existence, death, life, and having children is.
Thank you so much. Okay. Corey Campbell, please.
Okay, so I did not watch the whole film, but I scanned through like 5 minutes just to like get a sense of it. And based off of what I like briefly saw, this just seems like a version of the film or the book Lolita, but just like, I guess maybe with a twist or with a younger, basically with a younger star. So since the fact that, Lolita exists, and even though I have no desire to watch it, or any type of art, like that, like I have no problem with it existing, and that like yes, if you're an adult, you can go and watch it if you like. But I think there should be obviously a very clear age cutoff in terms of if you're allowed to consume this type of content. But I think if you are an actual adult, hopefully you have the judgment to be able to like determine whether you want to go see that or not. I don't think, as far as I can tell, that this either normalizes that behavior, and I'm also, I think this blurs the line in terms of like there's other types of art. Like if you're for banning this, like there like depictions of children in paintings, naked children in paintings like exist and they're glorified. But like yeah, I pretty much have no problem with this existing. But obviously it should just be reserved for adult viewing. That's basically it.
Renaissance art is disgusting. It should be burned. But let's go to Lactoid.
Yeah, I'll be frank. I, similar to Corey, I didn't watch the full movie. Not only did I not have the time for the full movie, but I also didn't want that on my search history. Generally, I think it reminds me a little bit of the movie Cuties, right? Where Europeans make a really sketchy movie that's supposed to make some kind of deeper point or criticism. But then you remember that these movies are made in places that allow perverted relationships between adolescent children and adults, like France and Germany. Needless to say, I'm skeptical. I'm generally opposed to pornography involving children, softcore or not. I am in favor of artistic freedom and the ability for people to express themselves. But I think the same point of the movie could have probably been made while making sure that we aren't encouraging or visually exacerbating incredibly dangerous and predatory behavior. The risk posed by this needs to be factored in and weighed against the freedom of people to express themselves. If this movie goes too far in suggestive content depicting children, I think everybody here agrees there probably is some line that it goes too far. My line may just be set back a little bit further than a lot of people here. I'm maybe a little bit more on the side of banning, softcore pornography involving children. I don't think that is healthy or safe to be propagating to audiences.
What a brave move, banning softcore pornography involving children. Okay.
Hot takes as always.
Thank you, Lactoid. Much appreciated. Let's go to Revolution Underground.
Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and be entirely honest. Until this Reverie came up, I had never heard about this movie in the first place. So I did actually force myself to sit down and watch it in its entirety because fuck it, we've seen enough terrible things in this world. A movie isn't going to be the deal breaker. But
that was a rough movie.
Honestly, it's one of the darkest things I've ever seen. Yes. But that doesn't mean that we should regulate art in that way. We already are doing enough book burning and any of that other censorship nonsense that we shouldn't be trying to regulate it away. Clearly, this is something that should be rated only for adults, but also we're basically all speaking from an American perspective. We're talking about a foreign film. So to regulate it would not only require us to lean on a foreign government, but it's just too much, and people should be allowed to make and create what they want to, regardless of how we feel about it.
Okay. Josh.
Yeah, I mean, to sort of keep this short and not reiterate any talking points from the panel so far, this one I had a little bit of problem with to gather all my thoughts, so I'll just keep this short. If you were to ask me if I was generally okay with this film being made, I'd say yes, in the defense of its artistic freedom. I consider it art, although very provocative, and some might say it depicts illegal things. I still consider it art. My main criticism of the film would be that Woolner, who is the director of the film, probably could have made that point she wanted. She probably could have made the point that she wanted to make while not depicting images of sexual abuse and children. And that's my broader point.
Okay. Isle.
I believe personally that we should do things to make sure that we do not allow this post-singularity nonsense where we allow androids to be like almost human, like you see in these video games and transhumanist fantasies. We shouldn't be doing that. Um, as for the openness of art, I think that we should definitely allow artists to pursue their arts and their passions as best they can through their mediums, as long as it's all being taken care to make sure that nothing illegal is happening on set. Everyone is an adult that's consensual. If there is something like a little bit too risque, so I'm totally fine with them producing the movie, making the movie, exploring these themes, employing these actors and actresses that may be children. They just gotta be make sure that they're keeping the sex out, and or if for some reason they have to have a sexual scene in it with children in there, that the children are like have taken care of, making sure that they have like ample mental health going on set, so they can be able to internalize and conceptualize what's going on, so they don't get fucked up by having this happen to them in a way that would be detrimental to their health and development. But I think that art is really important. It needs to be explored, it needs to be seen. It's just that once we see the art, we have to make a firm decision about society of what is acceptable, and what we're willing to pursue and what we're not willing to pursue. But I think anybody should be able to at least bring up the topic in their art.
Okay, Tubi, please.
I think that it should obviously be banned. I watched an interview with the director after watching the movie, and she said something that really bothered me. Right? What she said was that the narrative, the tone, the story, all of it came together on the editing room floor. Right, that's where the story came together, and the sexual innuendo and all this was inserted was in the editing room, because when they were filming that, it didn't have that tone, which I think is batshit crazy for her to say, because there not only is a sexual innuendo like obvious in these scenes, right, but there's a scene where he like slips out her tongue and her like robot vagina and washes them in the sink while she's sitting topless on the counter. Like,
Yep.
like what if the tone, if that wasn't supposed to be like any kind of sexual innuendo, or the scene where she's laying with her ass like out, or like butt ass naked on the floor just staring at him, like what were you thinking when you filmed that? Then if none of this was meant to be sexual when it was being filmed, what was the thought process? Why did you film that? Like, I think that this is like another one of these cases where you have somebody that is like very, very fixated on the idea of being like an artiste, right? They want to be high-minded, they want to be whatever. So they explore an idea, quote unquote, which just means I think they're edgy to be edgy. They do some really dark shit. They explore something that's really gross, and then they call it art. And because they slap the art label on it, you have people defending it and saying, hey, this shouldn't be banned, this shouldn't be outlawed, this should be glorified even in some places. Right, because they're exploring this really difficult topic. Oh God, I think it's stupid. I think that there is no deeper meaning here. I think that this person is fixated on the idea that they're an artist, and because they're an artist, they get to do all the edgy shit. And I wonder, for those of you who said that you wouldn't ban it, Scott, I can understand because he's an ANCAP, right? But for the rest of you, what's the line, right? So not only do you have a scene where you have like what's supposed to be a 10-year-old naked and multiple scenes after having sex with her adult like father, right? even though it's like an android, if they had like a full-on sex scene, right,
it's not always an android.
Sure, okay, but if they had a full-on sex scene with this 10-year-old giving this man a blowjob, right? If they didn't show it, if they just showed the back of the head, right, and giving this man a blowjob, is that enough? Like, at what point does it become child porny enough for you to say, hey, this shouldn't be allowed? Like, I'm like, where's the fucking line here? And why does calling something art give it like some fucking order of protection to you guys? It's ridiculous.
So, Duby, if I can clarify, or maybe just clarify in general. So, from what I understand from the article, is like if in fact there is a nude scene, like it wasn't filmed, like that is. But from what I understand, those are CGI scenes. As in, like,
Yeah, that's fine, right? So if you're saying, hey, if the line is, if they're gonna have a scene where somebody's fucking a 10-year-old, it needs to be a CGI 10-year-old. Is that your line? We can have child porn so long as it's CGI.
I'm open to that conversation. Like, we're gonna get to a weird place in terms of like
I think you're gonna get to a weird place where you're justifying producing essentially child porn for people.
Yeah, especially with the advent of virtual reality. Like, again, we're going to get to a very weird place, especially like when people are probably going to have these tools themselves in their homes to create this type of, CGI or virtual reality content. And I don't am I for the regulation of that? Like, I don't know at this point, but
you don't know.
Given how the movie was filmed and based off of the article, like the parents seem to be involved.
Corey, I know you didn't watch it, and that's fine because it is a disgusting movie to watch. Like, it's not a comfortable movie to watch. I don't suggest any of you waste your time watching this thing. There's nothing to be gained from it, right?
And it's in German,
but it's German, of course. But Corey, if the movie was just like an hour's worth of like sex scenes between this guy's CGI 10-year-old daughter and like this dude, that you wouldn't know whether or not that should be banned. You wouldn't know whether or not you'd be against that?
Are you talking about actors acting that, or this is just some
Yeah, I'm talking about the two actors, but the nudity is CGI.
If that's... If it comes into actual like explicit pornography, then I would probably almost certainly not be in favor of that. But if it's like if something like that is just like pure CGI and someone wants to produce that, then
yeah, the facial expressions are real, the sounds are real. You actually do have a 10-year-old bouncing up on this man's lap, but the nudity is CGI. They're not actually having sex. You'd be okay with that.
Distributing that? No, probably not. But again, if someone wants to make that content, like again, these tools are going to be available to people at some point.
I'm not okay. I understand that somebody can do this currently. What I'm asking you is, if somebody does do this, should this be allowed on the airwaves? Should it be allowed on the internet so people to be able to go out and onto a website and watch that?
No.
Okay, but you said a little bit ago that the nudity that's in this film, where they have like a CGI 10-year-old breasts, right, or CGI 10-year-old ass on the screen for a very long time for no fucking reason. Like it just like lingers there for no fucking reason for a very long time. Like it's like it doesn't make any sense, right? Because that's CGI, it's somehow okay. Why?
Yeah, so this comes down to where the line between something that is actually sexualized and something that is a portrayal or just like a visual image. As in, there are paintings like an allegory with Venus and Cupid. That's a very like famous painting. That's literally a nude child who's like stroking, I believe, like the breast of his mother. That's a painting. Are you in favor of banning that? That's in public displays in museums. Would you be okay with that?
Can you agree? I think you're going to agree. There's a distinction between actual art, like a painting where you have a cherub and a goddess naked, right? Versus like there's a full-on sex scene between two CGI, like an adult and a child. Like obviously there's a difference there, right? And I don't think calling the CGI art, even if it's like animated or whatever, right? Even if it took a lot of skill to put this thing together, I don't think calling it art makes it okay to produce that and to sell it.
I don't disagree with you. It comes down to, so in my mind, it becomes difficult because I'm basically in favor of banning any sort of like child imagery that is produced with the intention to, basically to elicit arousal in another person. Okay. Since you don't know the intentions of the person producing that content, like it's hard to tease out.
Wait, okay, hold on. But so this film, which again has multiple nude scenes with what is supposed to be a 10-year-old. So if again they linger on this little girl's ass and her exposed breasts for a very long time, and they have her posing and shit in little dresses. So if this makes somebody aroused, and I'm sure there are plenty of pedophiles out there that would be aroused by this, right? Why isn't that enough to say, hey, whether or not you intended for this to happen, you saying that it's art doesn't justify you producing what's essentially child porn. It's going to be consumed by pedophiles that are going to jerk off this little girl.
Yeah, because based off what
the line is like, are real people being harmed here? So it's just a CGI like.
I think the normalization of child pornography does harm society.
Doobie, I would add something, because I think there's this distinction between what is art and what isn't art, and like certain bad things aren't art. I would go a step further and say that this is art. It's absolutely artistic. And that some art is evil because it represents evil ideas and an evil self-idealized self and deconstructs or critiques the world from a subjective place that has evil motivations. And it's very clear that this is both art and evil that sets up the male that is the child abuser as the hero of the story. It is when the child becomes a boy and is Emil, they are talking about going to see Pop. They're talking about they constantly reiterate this idea when they're terrified of thunderstorms. They break character from Emil and instead say that you smell like cigarettes and sunscreen. And he uses that against the child to say that this is just the way you like it, huh? Right? Like it is very clear that the man is broken without the sexual relationship with this child, and that the child yearns for the sexual relationship of this man under the oppression of an old woman that doesn't actually love the android, but instead must turn the android into Emil. And even then, she never loved Emil to begin with. And that is why she murders Emil, because she attempts to have sexual contact with the older woman, kisses her romantically on the lips, and she says, "Get out of here," pushes the android away. And then in return, when she attempts to get that love again, she pushes the android, and the android pushes them onto the table and watches them die and callously does it. And then lays down with the corpse of the older woman and begins to sing the songs like 10 years ago that were imprinted when she was a human. It is very clear that this film sets up the pedophile and the child abuser as the hero of the story. And yet it is surrealist. Yet it is deeply nihilist in the way that it attacks the idea of children and relationships, which is playing and hearkening back to the philosophy text from Emil M. Sirora, I think is how you say his name, right? It's hearkening back to the name of the title. I'm sorry?
I believe it's a woman.
You know what it reminds me of?
The author of the book is a male. The author of the book is a male, right?
Have you guys ever?
It's evil art. That's what it is, and like we shouldn't ban
I can agree
it.
with that.
But at the same time, we should tell it. We should tell them to go fuck themselves. We should tell people involved in these things that they should never be around children, and we should forcibly remove them from private property in our society because they're fucking weird and we don't want them.
I think I agree.
So this reminds me of the. Have you guys ever seen that meme with the dog and the animal abuser? This person's been fucking his dog, right? And so they come in. Yeah, there's a meme, right? So they come in, and it's like a furry meme, right? Where they're supposed to be saying that, hey, human and animal love is real, right? So what it is they have a dog that's been taken away by the authorities because they found out this man was having sex with the dog. And the dog is like, hey, why won't they just take me back home? I miss what's his name? Why won't they just leave us alone? We're happy. Right? It's like that in long form, right? Because it's like it's pretty fucked, right? I think the intention is clear. Sure, we can call it art. Okay, I'm okay with calling it evil art. That's just I'd be for banning it, like at the government level.
It's the same as Nazi propaganda or communist propaganda, right? Like Stalinist propaganda posters are clearly art. Right? Like it has its own style. It has a message and a meaning. It takes talent and work and craft, and it's deeply laden with the ideals and values of the artists that produce this for the purpose of bringing about Nazism. But it's evil art.
Yeah.
Likewise.
No, I think I've heard enough. I agree with Doobie. Send in the troops. Ban this. Fuck. It sounds awful.
I mean, she constantly repeats.
She constantly repeats as a society that it's evil, and we should reject the messages that were being seen. But we should
the android constantly says she doesn't need to know. Mom wouldn't let us do this, whilst embracing a naked older man, right? And then they subvert that tension later with introducing the ideas that the android is just a program reiterating other things, and at the same time subtly put in that we're talking about a real child in Belgrade 10 years ago, and the she doesn't need to know this. It's our little secret was when him and his daughter were away from the mother and he was doing sexy photo shoots and fucking his own daughter. Like, it's evil art, period.
We all agree.
Yeah.
And here's my question. Let's say you have evil art that that if normalized within a society will lead to a large number. Like we can let's say we can like measurably show this will lead to like a large number of coercive abuses against children, right? This is part of the logic against in favor of banning child pornography. If we start to normalize this kind of art and we kind of see the same things. We obviously can't have a society in which we're just having like kids molested because, hey, it's art. So how bad does the problem have to be before we say, hey, if you make this, we're going to like come after you?
Yeah, well, so I would pose the question to you, Lactoid, in terms of like the painting that I described earlier, which I think is a pretty widely regarded, well, I mean, it's in a museum. Like, are you in favor of banning that type of painting?
I don't think it's sexualized in the same way. So
the child is literally like stroking his mother's breast.
It's not, yeah,
it is obviously not sexualized in the same way as this fucking film. If you can stomach this fucking film, I have questions for you, and I hope you never have children.
So
it's rough.
So breastfeeding is not inherently sexual, right? So growing up, I was in Sweden a lot, and on the beaches when I was a child, like me and my friends were running around naked. It was just normalized. It just wasn't really like seen as a big deal. It wasn't sexualized at all. Nobody saw it as like a sexual thing. There wasn't any kind of sexual innuendo. Nobody was like propositioning people. There was, it just didn't happen, right? It was safe. If at any point on the beach there were people like making it sexual, then we have an issue, right? And does it require some level of like context and some level of social aptitude to recognize when somebody's making a situation sexual? Yeah, like you have to like be able to interpret that and be able to know when it's getting to that point where, yeah, breastfeeding's not sexual because there's nothing sexual about it. But when you're depicting somebody who apparently just had sex with an older guy who's a 10-year-old depiction, and now like you're showing a bunch of nudity along with that context, now we're introducing a sexualized scenario. I think at that point we're moving into child pornography territory, where I think now we start justifying intervention.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily disagree with you. So then I would ask the follow-up question, Lactoid, rewinding a couple panels ago, like what was sexual about that teacher teaching in a classroom with in that scenario?
Why are you bringing this L back up?
It's not an if it's an L, let's tease it out. So what was sexual? You said breastfeeding is not sexual. Clearly not. Contextual things matter. So what was sexual about that teacher?
I'll have to think about that a little bit more. I truly believe that the teacher's intentions were partially sexual.
Their intentions?
I don't know, but part of determining which actions to regulate is you make predictions about people's intentions. You make predictions about why are people making actions that they do. I think my main arguments for that were, you're exposing children to an environment in which they're being distracted, and in a hyper-sexualized environment where the kids are definitely perceiving it in a sexual way. I think when we're talking about an environment with children, when we're talking about an environment with children, I think how the children are perceiving it is also important. But when we're talking about adults, now we're talking about like how a rational observer would interpret the situation. And it sounds like this movie is any rational observer would say this is a sexual situation. I think
I just wanted to give people a quick I thought you were done, so I apologize for stepping over you. I was just giving the context of what Corey was bringing up is the I guess it was in Canada, right?
Yeah,
where
high
there
school.
was
Canadian Mrs. Doubtfire.
It was a trans individual
Worse than that.
Who had like a very large, comically sized a plastic breast, and like they were a high school teacher, and we were talking about like what exactly is sexualized about this, and should have been banned, or should this person been fired? Should they be allowed to work with kids? All that good stuff. Well, not good stuff, but anyway. So that's what we're talking about. But so, Lactoid, if you have anything else to say, again, I apologize for stepping on you.
Yeah, I guess like where I'll end. I guess where I'll end is
it's an interesting question, and I'm glad you brought it up. I'll think about it, and maybe this answer is inconsistent for some reason. I don't think it is, though. The idea here is I think children, we protect them the most from sexualization, right? And so the line for things that we're exposing children to, I think, is set way further back. So I'm not even sure I'd be in favor of having like the nudity or the cherubs like in a middle school or a high school. I'm not even sure I'd be okay with that, right? But when it comes to the line is maybe a little bit easier. We're kind of setting that back a little bit when it comes to adults. But then when you start involving children in the actual things that the adults are consuming, now we have the issue again, right? The involvement of children is where the issue begins, regardless of who's receiving like the sexual content and who's laying it out. And to be honest with you, maybe this is an argument that we shouldn't have beaches maybe that's an argument we shouldn't have beaches like that where we have kids like I experienced growing up. Maybe that just shouldn't be a case. I think that's actually probably a pretty strong counter argument that shouldn't be normalized. And to be honest with you, in Sweden right now, that's very much becoming not normalized. Sweden is moving away from that.
Ashley, and that's super interesting. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know a beach like that existed.
Most beaches, almost all of them. That's how it was.
Oh, interesting. That's quite interesting. Thank you for the information. Ashley, please.
I hadn't watched the film. I just read the articles and Wikipedia's on it. I didn't realize how bad it was. Thank you for enlightening me, Doobie. I think that it is very fair to ban this film. I think that what it depicts is very. I agree. I guess I just wanted to say that. Yeah, I agree. I think that this is a case where, yeah, I wouldn't be for lolicon either, where it's people make CGI children. That's a very there's a very real problem of that happening in VR spaces where people will make very sexualized children and actually do that. And usually it's two adults, one of which is playing a child, but that doesn't make it okay. And I think that that's deeply troubling. And I think that, yeah, I could totally see how a movie that has that type of nudity probably should be.
So this is where I probably disagree with people. Go ahead, Prime. Sorry.
Oh yeah, let me get this out. And maybe we might have going in a similar direction. I don't know. So I've talked about this topic, but not this particular movie. This movie it's a lot. But what to ban? We're talking about even erotica, right? And it seems like the dividing line here is fidelity. If we are having a piece of erotica or whatever the fuck you want to call it, right? That is including children, right? Depictions of children. Be very clear, depictions, right? There are no children actually involved. In my mind, when no one is being harmed, it's very difficult for me to say that we gotta ban this thing, right? And so this runs the gamut, right? So from stories, right? Like just text written where the age of a character, right, is written as younger, or where it goes to what you guys are talking about, CGI or in a virtual space, or even this film, though it's not erotica. It runs the gamut, and it seems at some point, right? This is where Lactoid was, I think, going when he mentioned that, or Lactoid and Corey, we talked about that picture, right? It doesn't have a fidelity, but at some point you guys see a dividing line. I don't know where that line is, right? And I can't find a good reason at any step that I see to say, okay, this is where that we should cut that off. Where this is the specific point in time where it's too much, and then this is the danger. So yeah, I'll put that out there. Let's go to Scott, and then Ashley, you can go back in.
Yeah, so the answer is there is no line. But let me explain. There is no line where you justify state action against perceived things that are deviant or degenerate in your opinion. if you express or show this to children in such a way that it causes permanent harm, then they're stopped from not being a criminal and they need to be punished and their children taken away. If you utilize children in any way, I think we kind of all agree that that is a hard line. But there is also no line from Kiwi Farms and Keffels, or whomever, loving to go into these internet forums and finding out who the fuck you are and telling your employer and telling your friends and telling your neighbors what a disgusting and degenerate piece of shit you are and that they shouldn't work with you, and making your name and your face public if you're stupid enough to do so. The fact of the matter is that without, this is again why I argue for free association. The type of society that I would advocate for wouldn't tolerate these people living in my society. We would simply say, you're not welcome here. And I don't mean that in a fucking American History X type situation. I simply mean literally, you're not welcome here, and move them out forcibly from my community and make their face and their name known because they're sick fucks. At the same time, when people are producing art, there is gray lines. And where that line is for some and for others is going to be a different line. You know, Salvador Dali is a sick fuck, obviously. Watch his fucking films and his discussion of his father, and you'll be like, wow, this guy's fucking degenerate and sick and weird, right? Maybe he's struggling with his own sexuality in a society and culture that can't understand him, and maybe his art has value for that in a way that normal people can't understand, but in a way that speaks to the human condition that is valuable to us all. But that doesn't mean I want to fucking hang out with Salvador Dali.
Thank you. Ashley.
I think that the real damage that this does, Prime, just to respond to you, I think that, like, there is real damage in this. It normalizes these concepts. And I think that, like, for pedophilia, I think that's very important that these people get actual clinical help and not see that they're... I think you can do that without normalizing it. You can normalize getting help for it and normalize that, like, people are just this way and it's not in their control. But I don't think you can normalize the action safely, ever.
You think we can, really?
What?
I mean, do you think it's possible?
Possible to what? I don't think we can.
To normalize getting help for a medical condition without normalizing the medical condition. It's a rough question, but I mean, what has happened with every other mental health issue is that they've become normalized and in some ways even badges of honor and popularized. Can we do that with pedophilia?
I think in this case, like, we have to. I think that the issue is that, like, you can, like, some people are just born this way. They don't pick to be this way. But then if you were to say this is okay, right, then why would you need to get help for it? I think it's a very fine line where, yeah, you do need to get help for it. But yeah, it is something that can just happen to anyone. People don't choose to be this way.
I think we could treat it kind of like drug addiction or like tobacco use or something, like where we say like when you're doing it, like everyone recognizes that it's like kind of bad that you're doing it, and then when you say, oh, I quit, or like, oh, I went and got help for it, everyone's like, that's fucking awesome, man, like good on you. I'm like really happy for you that, you know, you're better now. You know, maybe we can begin to shift the narrative towards that when it comes to like pedophilia, where everyone's like, man, you could really gotta fucking like, that's not okay. Like you need to go get help or stop that. And then when you do, everyone's like, you know, happy to welcome you back once you're rehabilitated.
The problem is that we have
if you can be rehabilitated.
Right, we're going to clockwork orange you. You will be rehabilitated.
No, like there's no known psychological intervention that has anything approaching decent efficacy or even majority efficacy for pedophilia. And for, you know, there's some stuff that has worked with paraphilic disorders, but pedophilia, it seems, is very deeply and strongly imprinted. And so the answer that I would give is that we should ostracize and move these people completely out of society. And if they want to be members of society, then they can voluntarily choose interactions that make people comfortable, such as voluntarily wearing an ankle monitor.
So Scott, actually, I don't know the research into like the therapies, right? So I'll take your word on it, and you know, it matches with what I've heard previously. But would the goal here not be necessarily be to like change their outlook, their perspective, their sexual desires, or simply their behaviors, right? In fact, we had a conversation about this. Oh, actually, I'm not sure if you're there, but we had a conversation about this previously, where it's like there are when we're talking about child abuse, there are different like sorry, when we're talking about pedophilia, there's different cohorts of that, and there are individuals who have like a sexual reaction to a person who is a minor, and then that's it, right? Like it's a thing that happens, but whatever, they'll move on with their life and they will marry a person of adult status, and then that runs the gamut to like individuals who actually offend, right? And like this is the only thing that they know how to do, right? And they will offend, like so, like because we put them all in one group and treat rather than introducing any nuance into it, say like equal bad, and so we can't have a conversation about it, then I think it makes it difficult for us to find effective solutions. So specifically, relating it back to what you just said, when we're talking about like having options for people who might actually offend, then for that specific cohort, maybe it's simply like, well, control your behavior, right? You've come here looking for help. Great. Let's get you to control your behavior. Now, if you can't, of course, then we do other things. We put you in jail.
I wouldn't say that you should do anything to them that is involuntary if they haven't actually harmed anybody.
You wouldn't say that, okay? But I'm saying I was asking about.
But I'm saying
like their behavior.
We as a society shouldn't accept them into society unless they're willing to take precautions that limit their danger to such a degree that they're unlikely to be able to offend. If they want to voluntarily go to jail, I mean, they could if they want to. If they want to voluntarily wear an ankle monitor so that they're tracked everywhere they go, we can if we want to. And those people, I think, would be supremely valuable if they subjected themselves to research and better understanding. And we were able to do, work with those people. I'd even be willing to set up a charity organization that would be willing to pay pedophiles to come forward and wear an ankle monitor and to go through different forms of talk therapy so that we can find psychological interventions, because that's of benefit to everybody. But that doesn't mean I should let them anywhere near a fucking school without, TOS restrictions.
No, I think we're saying more or less the same thing. I was talking about like mitigation efforts for the behavior rather than like trying to change the fact that they were, attracted to kids. So I think we're more or less saying the same thing. Fair enough. And anyone else? A revolutionary?
This, I mean, I definitely did not expect this conversation to go in this direction, because typically conversations like this end in a lot of societally acceptable bloodlust. And I know you all have seen it where people just say, oh, we should all insert expletive deleted when it comes to this entire community of ill people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we do want to stay, of course, away from thought crimes, but it's one of those situations where how do you ever get these people to come forward and subject themselves to research under the cultural climate that we've created, where it is so common for people to jump to vigilante murder as public policy? I'm not sure how we get there.
We have to change the culture on that, I guess.
Yeah, it just seems like that's an uphill battle that I'm willing to wage that fight, but I definitely don't have any ideas on this one. If anybody else does, please.
We can start by actually like punishing them more, right? I mean, you have people like to catch a predator that they're get probation or they're out after 1 year, despite the fact they were like fully intending to show up and like rape a kid. I mean, you could just like start stacking up penalties on that.
Or if I may ask, Lacto, because maybe I'm not understanding the conversation, but from what I understood, like Revolutionary was making the argument to like change the culture such that it's less stigmatized. And
the stigma's good. The stigma, I think, is one of those things that's almost going to be impossible to get rid of. But how do we make it so they're willing to come out of the shadows so that people can study them? Because right now,
to confess that
I would assume they're seeing the same conversations that we're seeing. This is literally the first conversation I've seen in years that hasn't jumped to vigilante murder.
I think you're talking about two things and you're putting them together, right?
Twitch TOS.
One of them is the natural instinct of anybody to protect children with violence and aggression. And the other, right, is the stigma. I think you can increase the stigma and have a culture that does not permit violence against people who have not harmed other people, right? I think these are two separate concerns. And I think with increased stigma to a society that accepts violence towards other people, that isn't necessarily true of just pedophiles, right? This own panel with other people on it has talked about massive violence towards drug dealers before, right? Towards other forms of crime. It was you, Doobie, right? But like other people have talked about utilizing violence against people that have committed crimes. Now, in terms of thought crimes, right? We should never be engaging in utilizing aggression towards anybody. It's not justifiable unless they are the aggressor in the situation. But that being said, that doesn't mean that we can't increase the stigma. And so like what I would say is that we can have a society that says, if you're caught harming a child, fuck you, you go into general population. And if you get murdered, you get murdered. And at the same time, say, look, if you come forward, we as a society have no problem sending you to a really nice prison facility where you'll be studied, where you'll be given a white picket fence home, where you'll have internet monitored, obviously, where you'll be segregated by sex because we don't want any kids there, right? But you can have a job, you can have life there, you can interact with other human beings, you can do all of these things, or you can wear an ankle monitor. There are things that you can do to protect society from you, and we'd be willing to give you accommodations and pay you so that we can reduce the risk or the harm that is present from a disease that we obviously need to know more about. But that doesn't mean we need to normalize or reduce penalties for people that harm the most vulnerable amongst us in society.
Okay.
That's what
my concern is that we are normalizing it. So we're going the other direction. Right?
Yes.
So rather than normalize, giving these people help, we're normalizing the attraction. We're normalizing sexualizing children.
This film is an example of it, obviously.
Okay, so let's make sure that we're incredibly clear on what we're saying. So, what I'm saying is that maybe you all have more hope in the human condition than I do. I'm not sure that this is the type of thing that we should destigmatize or want to destigmatize. What I'm saying is that stigma is almost inherent with the action, and I think that's pretty much baked into the cake, that we really can't do anything about that. But how do we tamp down on the cultural violence in a way that it would allow us to find these people and to study them?
I think, just to be clear, when we're talking about destigmatizing it, I don't think anyone here is saying that like the action is okay or that we should destigmatize the action. I want to be very clear about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that, in my opinion, and I think everyone else is, that in destigmatizing it, we're talking about this attraction because you don't really have control over that. That's something, in fact, most pedophiles are actually molested as children, right? I believe, I could go look that up, but
it's some disproportionate number, yeah.
Yeah, a higher amount. So it's not like these people decided one day, yes, I want to like children in this way. They didn't. And like, I think treating them like they had control over their current state is really, I think it.
I don't think it mattered. I don't think whether, it was because they were exposed to too much sunlight or because their uncle grabbed their dick or whatever. I think how they got that way doesn't really matter when the end result is this person is a danger to children, so we can't have them around children.
But like this becomes thought crime. Like if somebody...
No, not really.
Also, Doobie, if they have these impulses, but they have like the wherewithal to go get help and to not act on them, I'm not sure this person's really that much of a danger to society. We should be like, there should be a carrot and a stick here, right? Where we're like, the stick is like, if you do this, or if we think you're planning on doing this, or like we set up a sting operation and you come or something, we like drop a fucking hammer on you and like crush you under this
Choice
hammer.
of words.
The hammer of the state, like 10, not an actual hammer, okay, but like the hammer of the state, like 10 years, something crazy, right? But like the alternative is if you come forward and like get help and don't do this shit, like we're not going to come after you. We're not like, the state's not going to drop the hammer. Like it's going to be civil. Like that's.
But the thing is, I still feel like we need test subjects, because it seems like from everything I'm reading scientifically, like there's still a huge debate about what causes this. It feels like we don't know enough outside of we know it's caused by something that's broken inside the brain.
Well, I think we also need to keep in mind that the vast majority of people who molest children are not actually pedophiles. Like they don't have the pedophilia, right? They're
so, Doobie, that's one thing I was going to ask, and that's basically what our friend Ashley and Lecter are trying to get to, is exactly what are you talking about in terms of like an offender or potential offender? Are you saying, like Ashley says, like this might be a thought crime? You said not really. Are you specifically talking about people who have actually offended, or people who are in that like cohort that might offend, right? That might actually do these things. What do you, but haven't yet? What do you?
So I guess the way that I'll explain it is, I actually mentioned this. I brought this example up a long time ago when we were on that panel with Mr. Girl and Destiny, and we're talking about like crossing the street if a black person is walking toward you. One of the examples I gave, right, to kind of further that line of argument is, hey, if you had somebody knowing that the vast majority of people who molest children are not actually pedophiles, right? They actually have a normal sexual attraction to adult women or adult men or whatever, but because they have the opportunity, they grope children or whatever, they molest children, so they don't have the paraphilia of like pedophilia, right? So given that that's the case, if somebody that you know was an open pedophile and was getting treatment for this pedophilia, for an actual like paraphilia that they have, like a mental issue that they have, came to you and said, hey, if you're going out for the weekend and they're like, hey, let me watch your kids, I'll watch your kids for you. You'd probably say no, even though you understand that the vast majority of people that molest children are not pedophiles, and this person specifically is trying to get help for their pedophilia, right? You'd still probably say no. Right?
Still might have to slap them for asking.
You're more of a risk than another person is going to be. So I'm gonna say no and pick the other person instead. Right? It's no way. I don't think it's thought crime to just acknowledge that these people are when they're around children, they put children at a greater risk. That's just the case because they have like a mental illness, or if they're or they're just men. Right? I think it's reasonable for people to be weird about leaving. If you drop a kid off at like a nursing home or something, and there's a bunch of dudes there, I think it's reasonable for people to think it's a little weird and be uncomfortable with that. I think that's normal. Like, because men tend to be the ones that do this shit.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of stories about like teachers.
Yeah, it's not all men, right? Like it's not, but it's mostly men.
It's mostly men.
Well, most crime is committed by mostly men, right? Just generally, like men are just not safe to be around.
Yeah, men bad.
Also, sexual imprinting just seems to affect men more, right? So like trauma or like really big things that occur while you're still developing sexually for women, right, is less likely to develop a paraphilic disorder or some form of sexual imprinting, whereas it's more likely to increase their libido or decrease their libido. Whereas with males, it's more likely to sexually imprint, right? So, when we did like kind of the original studies trying to understand sexual imprinting, what we did is we took goats and sheep and we kind of mixed them up as they grew up. And what we found is that the male goats would engage in sexual relationship with sheep. And then even when we put them back with goats, they would not fuck goats. They would only fuck sheep. Whereas the females would still give that kind of like the signifiers that they wanted sexual interaction, regardless of where they were. And that was kind of the beginning of the research to try and understand sexual paraphilic disorders, right? Many of these are just fetishes, but fetishization also tends to be more common in men, right? It just happens to be that pedophilia, hebephilia, ephebophilia is, gonna be more common amongst men, or is gonna be far more problematic than, being in defeat. But yeah, I mean, like, the other issue is that we don't even know if the trauma and the sexual imprinting is really what's causing this. What we know is that people that are pedophiles or child molesters, right, will say that they were sexually molested at a higher rate than those of the general population. But we're more often than not, we're not actually looking at evidence from their life. We're looking at self-report. And there's obviously an incentive towards the child molester or the pedophile to go, oh, this happened to me. This is why I'm like this. I'm also a victim, right? Than there is for the general population to let everybody know, oh, by the way, I was sexually molested by my uncle or, my dad's friend. It's far more likely that those people would keep that under wraps and not talk about it and underreport, whereas it's an incentive to overreport for the child molester, the pedophile, because it gives you empathy for their situation. So, like, we don't even really know that they're actually molested or abused at a higher rate. I mean, we suspect it. It seems likely, but, like, the data is, like, really, really kind of sparse.
Oh, that holds true for, I think, a lot of things, especially when it comes to assessing crime and the roots of crime or even just deviant behavior. But do we want to ask maybe a clarifying question just to maybe understand?
Some things are easier to track.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, like I said, we're probably going to get to a weird place. So what if we get to the place? There. Yeah, what if we get to the place that, just from scanning someone's brain, either likely probably through like MRI, or fMRI to be specific, that you can sort of predict or you can observe that, hey, this person's probably like having these types of thoughts. What would you do with that person?
I would put them into some kind of treatment program. Right?
Okay, but you would like automatically like
population.
Okay, as in like essentially like put them in prison, but provide them treatment essentially.
It doesn't need to be a prison. It could be like a rehab type place, but like I'd mandate it. I had to make it mandatory.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
So I guess still a prison, just like a nicer prison.
Well, I guess what Scout outlined, and which like I can sort of get behind that in terms of like, yeah, I think we should move to the place where
mine would be.
Okay, but I gotta say something. Yeah, his would be voluntary. Mine would be mandated. Like I wouldn't give them the option. But
I would just kick him out of the fucking community.
Corey, I gotta say, like, I feel like and it's okay if you've like shifted positions, right? But I feel like at the start of this, you were much more okay with depictions of like naked children, even sexualized depictions of naked children being on the screen, being in movies, etc. And it seems like you've kind of backed off that. Like, did you change your position?
I don't think. Well, so you're being on the screen means a lot of things. Like being.
CGI little girl tits.
Yeah,
it's a phrase I wasn't expecting to hear today.
As in, like, based off of everything that I've heard from the description of the movie, and like again, I've seen little bits and pieces. Like I scanned through it, I just like jumped around through the progress bar, and based off what was in the article, like all of any like explicit sexual content is implied, and like there are depictions of nudity, but like all of the sexual relationship aspect appears to be implied. Am I incorrect in that assessment?
Yeah. Well, no. It's like they get to the edge a few times, like in the pool where he has like up against the wall of the pool, and they're speaking very suggestively.
And then there's the butt buckle sound of them, like the father. Yeah. So so you don't see any penetrative sex. You don't see like.
They couldn't make that.
Yeah. They don't. It doesn't see anything that you would see in porn or anything like that. It's just that like it implies this is a thing that is happening.
Yeah. So, like I said, this just seems like another whatever telling of the movie Lolita or whatever from also the book Lolita. Like based off what I know.
So I'm gonna ask you again. So, like, if they did show the sex scenes, would that if it was like an artistic reason, right? So they were doing it to highlight the main push of the story, which according to the director, which I think is bullshit. is that objects don't really care what they're being used for. So this android object, little girl, didn't really care that she was being molested or assaulted or raped or whatever you want to call it. It's just an object that was having something done to it. Didn't care about the morality of the thing. It was just a thing that was happening to it. That's what the director says the point of this was, which I think is bullshit on its face, right?
Well, it's a lie because it's heavily implied that in Belgrade you're talking about the actual daughter.
Yeah. So, but if that's what she said it was, right? She says, "Hey, this is my intention. This is what I'm attempting to portray with this. So to get there, I need to show this little girl having sex with an adult. I'm going to swap her naughty bits out with CGI, but we're going to have a full-on sex scene with a little girl and an adult. Like, would that be okay with you? Like, would you allow that to happen?
On as in like that's in cinemas for no.
Okay, but why?
At least to me, that is pretty much that it's either it is explicitly pornographic or like it skirts the line into.
But it's artistic, and their intention is to push this other idea.
Yeah, that's where it gets blurry, right? In terms of like, I guess where's that line between whatever erotica and like explicit pornography? I think when you're showing, or I don't know, I guess there's some semblance of penetrative sex. Like to me, that is pornographic.
But if it was a hand job,
I think that is also, in my mind, also pornographic.
Okay, so when you have like genitals involved. Well, actually, I mean, we do have genitals involved in the film, if you consider like little girl nipples genitals. But you do see his dick a couple times. So if there are genitals involved in the sex act or the implied sex act or whatever, then that's crossing the line. But up until the point where they actually show the genitals, it's not okay. So what if what they used to do in like PG-13 or even like rated R movies, right, where they didn't want to go like commit to the actress having her ass bouncing on the guy's dick, is they would have the covers up over her ass and they'd be in bed and she'd just be like wiggling around on the guy while he's in bed, right? And this was them having sex with the covers like up to her up to like her hips and her thighs, right, to cover it. If they just did that, right, so they didn't actually show the sex act itself, right, they didn't show any genitals, but they showed the little girl grinding on the guy. Like, is that over the line for you? Like, I'm trying to understand like where your line is, because
you're basically outlining a situation where like nothing is visually shown, but you're implying the motions of sex, right? Is that pretty much a good understanding? Yeah. And in that case, like it's not content that I would consume, but like I can see that as somehow getting some sort of like passing.
So you're at softcore child pornography right now.
Doobie, where's your line? I'm curious.
I think sexualizing children at all is just not. That's totally anything.
So when I think about this though, and I think one area where Corey might have a point is, like I said in the beginning, I think everybody has a little bit of a different line here. My line is kind of more in line with yours, Doobie, I think. But at the same time, like, let's imagine another situation, like in Nickelodeon, where they had the director apparently is like a weird sexual fetish about feet, and has like children wiggling their toes in front of a camera. Should that be banned if we know the director's getting some kind of weird like sexual?
Yeah, I think you should be in fucking prison.
Yeah, fair enough. Dan Schneider. That's all right.
If I may interrupt, sorry if I interrupted you, Lacto. I just want to finish your point.
No, I was going to say, like, we can imagine like other movies too, like Romeo and Juliet, two children kissing. I mean, is that like somewhat pornographic? It is. I think like for me, like what you're doing is you have to weigh when we're considering banning something. You have to weigh the artistic freedom, and then you weigh that against the risk of incentivizing and creating non-consensual harms generated by this expression. And child pornography is obviously way over the line. I think this is closer to that than like Romeo and Juliet. I don't think I would ban Romeo and Juliet, even if like some weirdo got off on that. If that makes sense.
And yeah, Dude, if I can also try to clarify where your line is. So are you also based off of like what you've described in terms of like pretty much like no hint or obviously no explicit sexualization of children, but like no hint. So are you in favor of, for example, like banning Game of Thrones?
Wait, how does Game of Thrones sexualize children?
I think
Absolutely.
in one of the early seasons, like I think Sansa, when like the castle whatever is being taken over, like Sansa's in the process of attempted rape. That doesn't happen because I think Clegane the Hound intercepts, but there's a
I
point
don't
where
think that's
Later on, she gets actually raped.
yeah, okay, but they're not really clear about what her age is in
No,
either of those
no,
scenes. I
what?
think in the
No.
first one she's clear. Wait, hold on. How old is Sansa supposed to be when Ramsay rapes her? Like in the show, not like how old does the show say she is? Because my understanding is that the show plays with the ages of all these people, and they're all out of whack with what's in the book.
Yeah. So, but hold on, we could just talk about the book because you're right. The show like ages people up. I remember having a specific conversation when it first came out. They age it up so it wouldn't be child rape. Okay, so let's assume that Sansa is 18, whereas she is sexually assaulted. But in the books, she is not. She is supposed to be a younger child. In the show, actually in the show, even then, right? Like there's a scene, and it's really fucking weird because of the actress. There's a scene where she's in King's Landing and she's like really upset, like she's like freaking out about her sheets, right? And she's like
Yes.
just had
had her period. Exactly, that's the point.
Like,
I was
actress-
on mute. It's
fucking
11.
like she's like, even though like this actress is clearly older, so that's why it's super weird, right? So it sounds like she's still pretty young in the show, but even then in the books she is younger. So like, should the books be banned?
And the series
I think
is based
that
off the
there's
books.
I think that there's a good argument for banning stuff like that in books. Like the one that people point to a lot is what's his name, Stephen King, right? Where at the end of it, he has like a child orgy, right? For some fucking reason, right? He
Wait,
decided to
what?
have a child orgy. Yeah,
If
Isn't
you
that the way
read
to
the
like
book,
defeat
yes.
the clown? That's like one of the tricks.
Yes.
yeah.
used
They
to-
needed to create the bond in their group, and to do that, they all had like gang.
I've never even
the,
seen the movie. You're saying this
convenient for no, this isn't in the movie for
Yeah,
obvious
it's not in the
reasons.
movie. Yeah, I've seen the
And
movie.
it's
It's
not-
definitely not in the movie.
It's not quick either. It's not like they imply it with a sentence or two.
Yeah, so I think
never
there's
giving that man my money again. Fuck
Stephen
that
King's just
shit.
weird.
Well, no,
yeah.
I think
there's like a good argument for that. but-
no. So I think
Hold on. I'll go right to you, but DB was in the middle of a thought, and then we'll go to you, Scott, please.
Yeah, so I do think that there's a good argument for banning shit like that. I think that when you're talking about like a book, it's a little bit more. I think there's a little bit more wiggle room there because you're not seeing this thing, and you can take into account the tone of the thing that's being said, right? So, for example, I haven't read Game of Thrones like the books, but I'm assuming that when George R. R. Martin was writing it, that scene where Sansa is raped or where they attempt to rape her, it's not like a sexual thing. He's not like playing up the way that her breasts look or the way that or how tight she is or whatever the fuck, right? But if he were, I think that'd be an issue. So I think you can take the tone of the words being used in the book into account. I wouldn't be okay with the books like glorifying sex acts with children, which is a big problem in the United States right now because you have a lot of school districts putting exactly those kind of books where children are jerking each other off and fucking each other in like school library shelves.
no. What I think you're describing, and this is why I'm so hardline on this, is that you're describing and showing even in this panel a large diversity of thought and subjectivity on what is and isn't appropriate. Where is that line? What is art and what stops being art? What is good art and what is evil art? It's very subjective. And so this is the problem.
Scott, 1 second. Just so I need to step away for like 2 minutes, but I'm still listening. But my girlfriend needs some help really quick.
But this is the issue that we have with state laws in trying to determine the line of what should and shouldn't be banned. That's the problem. What should and shouldn't be banned should be very clear and objective. Exposing children to things that cause permanent psychological or physical harm, and that's it. That's the only role that the state has. Okay? If you want to do your fucking lolly hentai that's super realistic, you should be legally allowed to do that.
Is there
And
objective truth?
I should. What's that?
I said, is there objective truth?
I don't know if you want to open that right now.
I believe there is other postmodernists, leftists wouldn't say so, but I think those people are all idiots. But what I'm saying is, what we need to normalize parents that are involved with their children. What we need to normalize is communities that separate and self-regulate, much like the Amish do, the Beachy Amish do, the Mennonites do. People that have recognized that society has become fucking sick, and instead they become their brother's keeper, and they come together in order to live a life that aligns with their values and goals. And what we need to normalize is discrimination against people because you don't fucking like what it is that they're spreading or what they're doing. We need to segregate many of these monopolistic tendencies. Right? Hollywood is a sick and disgusting place. And while you may not be a conservative that, that wants to watch fucking, the next fucking, Blaze TV fucking movie, though some of them are pretty good. The fucking heroin one's weird though. A little too much Jesus. But like, if you want to, right. If you want to create your own films, create your own things, that create your own culture. The problem is you start saying, I think this is the line, except none of you can really define the line. You can't. You're all giving Samuel Alito's response, right? You know it when you see it, right? And that's not good enough. You can't make laws off of you know it when you see it. What you need to do is you need to say, I know it when I see it, so fuck you, you're not welcome in my community.
So we'll go to Ashley, then Lactoid, but Scott is finally giving me the green light to oppress ANCAPs. All right, go team, go now. Let's go to Ashley.
I just think that with lolicon and that type of stuff, right? I think that this is very damaging, and if you would consider, I don't know, in my opinion, if you would consider banning anything that is at all pedophilia related, I think that lolicon is a prime example of something that probably should be.
Lolicon and Soticon as well.
It's very it's more common than I'm comfortable with in VR spaces, and the issue is that there's such a high market. I don't want to get too much into the VR chat economy, but people make the models for that game, right?
Yeah, I've seen it. There's a YouTube channel that I subscribe to called Lolly Police Department, where it's just dipshits with lolly avatars.
I don't mean that. I mean that I know that I used to have a roommate that would make adult only, but avatars that were able to engage in sexual intercourse in VR, and they had weird stuff that was able to do that, and they had they called it plug and play or something like that. It was really but it's pretty advanced, and there's people that do that for children in VR because that's so profitable. And the issue is this just needs to be banned. From the top down, this just needs to be banned.
Right, but that's a state solution to a problem, to a worse problem, which is a cultural sickness.
Actually, I'm really glad you brought that up previously. And Lactoid, I haven't forgotten about you. You brought this up that there are two people. You're essentially role playing, right? You have within this VR space. I haven't actually seen this, but I believe you when you say this fucking exists. But that you have an adult and another adult, but one adult has an avatar that is younger, right? Like a minor, right? But that reminds me of a person that I've met, and they're that engages in in the big little relationships, right?
That's very different.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe you can explain this, because this is where I need some clarification.
Yeah,
so just for people,
wait till you discover eunuch forums and sex forums around eunuchs. There's way sicker shit out there. Trust me.
Yeah. I'm.
So,
damn it. But please explain Big Little to everyone so they don't know what I'm talking about as well.
So for Big Little, I think that's more of a relationship dynamic, and it might involve childlike clothing, right? But a big distinction is that you're dealing with adults when you're doing that, right? And you're not necessarily, even if you're dealing with it's weird, but even when you're dealing with age regression stuff, which is a thing that people do, it's not you're not ever saying I'm a child, right? You might dress that way, but you're never actually going beyond that. There's a big distinction, I'd say. And I guess what I'd also say is that I don't know how much you know. Like, I play in Black Desert. There's gender lock and race lock, so I end up playing a child character. They call it a shy. It is a child that they say is 30 years old, right? I have a rule on my stream that I ban anyone that at all sexualizes my character because it's a child. I treat it like a child, and it is a child, and we need to treat it that way, right? But like, technically, yeah, it's a 30-year-old, right? Like, but like, I think that we could draw a distinction here that this is not a 30-year-old. It's based on a child. That's not okay.
Okay, so but hold on, in big little relationships, right?
Way, right? It's the other side of that, which is that like these are adults, and even though they're saying that they're children and acting like children, there's a big distinction here because they are adults.
So in a big little relationship, you have two adults. One is like they might play the age range. The big might pretend they're like an older age, but like the big thing is the little one. The little one is an adult who says that they are like 7, right? Like, and I've talked to a person who engaged with this, and like they like engage in a friendship relationship that way and a romantic relationship that way, and they do stuff, right? So I don't see how for me you haven't made a proper distinction between that and what's happening in this VR space where you have these individuals. If you could role play and you can dress up, right, in real life, you can do all these things, but like obviously not change your body because they can't do that. But if you could do all that, just now you're adding an avatar, right? Like, what is the big
so the distinction here is the avatar. Yes, that is exactly it. The fact that you can be a literal child and like you can make a child avatar, right? That is accurate to a child, right? That's the fucked up part. And that's where it becomes like, that's why it's bad. Big Little is very different because in the end, there's the end point of you're adults. And in the end, if you have sex, you're adults, right? And the difference here is, even though you're adults, one of you is literally wearing the skin of a child, right? I would say that like, if you are able to suddenly like morph your body into a child and people would have sex with you, that would probably be equally messed up.
I have one other thing for you.
Well, I mean, there's another distinction too when people engage in like age play, or not that I'm fucking supporting it, but like, or like DDLG and shit like that, is that there's usually aftercare in those situations, right? Yes. So like in any like BDSM relationship too, right? Like if you beat the shit out of somebody because they're a fucking masochist, there's usually a period of time where it's like you're on the bed, you're watching a movie, like you might even have like certain like aftercare packages and things like that to like re-normalize the situation out of the role play. When you're talking about people that are in like VR spaces and things like that, they're going to an avatar, fucking this avatar, and then they're leaving. There's no like physical kind of environment where two people are together where they engage in some form of role play and then they come back to reality. If that makes sense as well. So I think that's, as weird as it is, I think it's something that's worth mentioning.
No, you have to unpack and debrief in these types of plays, but if you're not doing that, like things can get weird and you fuck up your headspace.
Yeah, there's a lot of sick fucks out there in those communities. Let's be honest.
Okay. So I'm really sick of people, and I'm not saying anyone here did this, but I just want to say it because it was kind of brought up. I'm sick of people trying to lawyer their way around being pedophiles when they're saying things like, "Oh no, the child is actually 1,000-year-old shape-shifting dragon in the form of no." You're fucking sick. That's what it is. Like
Listen, I've seen some anime out there, and I said, you know what? They gave me tax lolly, and it's younger sister's all you need. That anime was goated. I could not believe it, but it was great.
Like,
I liked it. But
every day I hear stronger and stronger arguments for banning anime, right? The argument is like, well, like weird stuff with children, like encourages child assault, but then, anime is so close to, anyway, it's ridiculous. But, I hate to sound like a Puritan, but I'm going to on this topic, especially after whiskey. But
just say it, Lactoid. Yeah. You want to send another bomb their way. I'm not going to encourage violence. But I guess
when you arrest somebody, it's violence. I'm not going to. Okay, absent arresting somebody, it's not going to encourage violence. But I am going to say that gray areas exist with all kinds of criminal actions. Scott, you said something earlier about talking about how, yes, clearly the state shouldn't, or I mean, okay, you don't believe the state, but it should be illegal to psychologically damage children. And I agree, but even that can be a gray area, right? Some things can be psychologically damaging to children. Some things may not be psychologically damaging to those children. There might be a range of how psychologically damaging certain actions are. Scaring somebody in Halloween could be dramatically psychologically damaging in some ways. In other ways, it wouldn't be.
Lying about Santa Claus.
Yeah, everything is kind of on a case-by-case basis. Weighing pragmatism and weighing, what are the limits of our ability to enforce this, and what is the risk that these actions are going to lead to real demonstrable harm. And I think the harm generated by child pornography, whether it be CGI or lowly or any of that shit, I think that justifies state intervention. I think at that point, if you're making that shit and you're distributing that shit, the state can come in and stop you. It's not. I don't want this to be like a social, most things I'm on board with you when it comes to like free association and shit. But there are some things, right? Like if you're part of like a terror cell and you're plotting to like bomb like some building, no, like we're coming after you. If you're doing this, we're coming after you. Like there's certain things that have such a risk of harm that we can't let you do. At least I don't think we should be able to let you do.
Right, but we're not talking about letting people do it. What we're talking about is whether or not you feel justified in using violence to stop them from doing it. What I'm saying is simply, they should be ejected from the community. They should be ejected from all private property.
And for me, they would be ejected. They'd be ejected from the community through the use of police officers. That's
right, but how do you justify that? You justify that by saying, I believe in my heart of hearts, based off of my subjective opinion, that this will cause a substantial amount of harm to other people through second, third, and fourth order consequences. And I say that's a fucking ridiculous thing and doesn't actually meet a logical justification.
So, okay, I'm curious. Let's say, for hypothetical sake, we did this, and the result was that society didn't just there was isolated pockets of people that kind of formed, and communities that formed absent law enforcement, and started propagating this. And this was propagating to an extent where the rate of child abuse began to go up measurably. At what point would you agree with me and say we have to put a stop to it?
Well, if the rate of child abuse goes up, sounds like you need to grab your guns, sling them around, and it's time to start giving some people some lead sandwiches because they're abusing children.
What if the child abusers, and this is, what if the child abusers form their own corporation military? Yeah, and they roll into town with their caravan where they have more guns than you, and they start raping all the kids. Fuck, I feel like
it becomes a war zone.
It becomes a war zone.
What do you think? You think wars? Okay, so
let's go.
So hold on. We're currently the world is currently embroiled in some form of support or another in this Ukrainian-Russian conflict, right?
Sure.
They grabbed their guns. They invaded. War happens, right? But just because we don't like people, or just because we can tell that they have some evil intentions, or that the consequences might be bad by allowing a certain system of people to have power, doesn't mean that 2 years ago we had the right to just start nuking fucking Russia. We didn't have that right. We didn't have that right until they came out and fucking got in the tanks and started invading, and then Ukraine had that right to defend itself.
If you caught the Unabomber making the bombs, but he hadn't mailed them out yet, would you stop him?
I think that's a conspiracy to commit a crime. And I think that's the same thing as raising a barrel of a gun, right? If someone raises a barrel of a gun at me, right, they're showing clear and present intention towards committing a violent act that is already a form of aggression. I don't think someone making VR porn that is not explicitly designed to be shown to children and does not actually involve a child in the making process is the same thing as raising the barrel of the gun. But if I created a website And that website had code built into it where it was going to, we knew 10 minutes from its launch, it was going to launch a bunch of algorithmically things that would specifically go to children and was going to like try and get around systems to go towards kids. And like, we knew that it was going to like involve children and they were planning to do so. That is the same as raising the barrel of the gun. And we can stop those people from harming those children because they're clearly intending with by all of the evidence that we have to harm children, and they're engaging in an active process to do so.
I think you can engage in activities that maybe you're not actually intending to hurt somebody, but they probably should be illegal anyway. So one example is drunk driving. Another example could be standing on a bridge, firing pot shots down on the highway because it's fun. Or actually, some kids were just arrested not too long ago for picking up boulders and throwing it off a bridge because that's what kids do. And one of the rocks went down, hit a car, killed some 24-year-old man. Right? They weren't intending on killing him. They were just doing a reckless behavior, and it led to a harm. I think child porn is the same. Like, you're doing a reckless behavior and it's leading to a harm.
Not all reckless behavior leads to harm.
Yeah, and not all rocks you throw off a bridge actually hit a car. And not all pot shots you shoot off a bridge
but
hit
it's
a car.
okay. It's okay to do a consequentialist analysis, to create rules as a private property owner, to align with your goals and your interests and your values. What is not okay is to demand restitution for crimes that have not been committed, for acts of aggression that have not occurred. So if I own a bridge, I absolutely, to make sure that my insurance rates don't go up, to make sure that I don't have any legal culpability, will make a rule that says you can't throw rocks off the bridge. And if you do, I'm going to forcibly fucking remove you. And when you come to my property, you agree to pay something for violating this contract.
No, if you're standing on a freeway and throwing boulders,
it has the same effect.
If you're standing on a freeway and throwing rocks off the bridge, I don't care if the property owner says it's okay. The police come and stop you.
Right.
Because you're going to hit somebody and kill them.
If the property owner says it's okay, and then there are people down there and it's other property, or it's the same property owner, people shouldn't drive on that fucking road. And eventually the property owner will realize that's not okay. Especially after they are especially after they're negligent.
Once the body count is high enough, then
then people will know, right? Oh fuck! My cousin Joe, he got fucking axed by a rock the other day. I'm not gonna go on that freeway again.
But
that's the free market, baby.
But you don't need a body count to recognize that it's fucking stupid to allow people to do this.
Yeah, it's stupid and it should be illegal. You shouldn't be able to throw boulders off of a freeway. You shouldn't be able to take pot shots off of a bridge.
Right, but what you're engaging in, right, is you're engaging in the theory of the state as it currently exists. And I'm not doing that, right? Because it should be perfectly legal, right? If I have a bridge on my property that I only use to move farm equipment to and fro, that I throw whatever fucking rocks into the creek under the bridge that I want.
Okay,
you're talking about public property.
You agree in the world, which I would be very surprised if it changed. There are public freeways, right? And in the world of public freeways, it should likely be illegal for people to gather on top of them and throw boulders down at the rocks.
Right.
Cars driving below. That should be illegal, right?
What I'm saying is there are two thoughts of philosophy within libertarianism. One is that you should not advocate for anything that is morally justifiable. The other is until there is abolishment of public property, that what we should advocate is that the government act as best or as close to possible as a reasonable private property owner should engage until we have that abolishment. I tend to side with Hoppe on this regard, which is to say that I agree, right, that the real issue is the existence of the public roads themselves and not necessarily the law that is attached to the original crime of the public property. And so I support the existence of said law as it affirms the private property and what is reasonable to the best of the capacity until the abolishment of that public property.
All right, let's roll off that. That's a great point. So it's the case now where, because we have the government, unfortunately, it steps in, like, it has the rationale of a rational private property owner. And in the same way that you said a rational private property owner would eject a child abuser from society, then the state should also come and eject people.
Yes.
Or yeah, hold on. No.
Eject
You said
them.
you
Yes.
wait. Hold on. You said that a rational private actor should shun and reject anybody who makes child pornography, whether that be lowly or So the state should come in and eject people who do that by law, by police officers, because they're acting as a rational private actor does.
Every rational private actor you think would eject someone for making art? I think we've already shown that that's not true here.
They're not rational, okay? The people,
why are you saying they're not rational? There are plenty of rational people that make lolicon art.
Rational is fundamentally subjective. Fine.
As you drink your alcohol,
I will assert that anybody who thinks that Lolia is okay is non-rational. This is a very firm axiom in my principles.
I think anyone who drinks alcohol, not
disagree.
Fair. Now we're gonna have a Machiavellian showdown about. I'm gonna try to come after the child porn makers, soldiers.
We are going to we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna continue on to our more comprehensive. The content isn't over. I'm gonna say this that I said maybe for Doobie, literally no one is able to resist the siren song of Ancapistan, right? It will draw you into an argument every time.
I'm sorry.
People. No.
People come at me. I'm going to answer the questions.
No, Scott. I was actually just about to say that people complain. They're like, "Oh, Scott seems to take over the panel." No, everyone just keeps asking Scott questions, and Scott answers. So I'm defending you here. It just kind of the way it happens. People can
reap what you sow.
Yeah, I think Scott. I think we're actually lucky to have Scott around because he's a very very intelligent, very knowledgeable advocate for Ancapistan, and I think it's pretty rare to have somebody like that around in these spaces.
He's the lightning rod.
They're usually autistic teenagers that just wanted to piss off everybody on the internet, or people that really like economics. Which we're kind of 2 for 2 on the autism here.
Hey.
But yeah, so shout out to Scott, and shame on you all for not being able to resist. At some point in time, you all fall for it. Okay. Thank you all for being here. We are going to move on to Open Walk on Panel, so the show is not over. We still have more content for you, as we always do. Stick around. Hit that follow button if you haven't done so yet. If you've been here so far and you've been enjoying this, especially social and chat for all social media. We got Twitter, where we tweet. Discord, where our Open Walk on Panel will be, TikTok, and YouTube, where you'll find the VODs. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much. Okay, now we'll go to our, we'll give an outro out to everyone here, but again, we still have content, so stick around for that. Okay, I'll get to that later. Let's go to our friend Ashley. Ashley, it was fantastic having you here. You have come out swinging on both topics. This is actually the most active I've ever seen you. And this is what no, this is not. I'm not making any statement about your character or your interest. I'm just saying, it was really nice. I enjoy having you around and enjoy seeing your opinions and your argumentation, right? Because I think you're a scrappy fighter.
Yeah. So actually, they gave me a little card at
Okay. The Black Desert card?
Yeah, no, it's all my social.
Okay.
I can't see any of that shit.
It's very blurry.
This is great marketing.
Hold on.
And this is what you'll find on Nash's channel, wherever the fuck it is. So
find a blurry stream.
It's for me, Alex. And I'm trying to focus my camera. I can't. I give up. Anyway, yeah. I stream Black Desert content and I kill people in a video game. That's what I do. And then sometimes I talk about trans issues.
Okay, right. As a child soldier. As a child soldier, she does that.
Okay, listen, I don't okay, whatever that person in your chat was saying, I do not glorify my character at all. In fact, I treat her as a villain. I use the evil characters tag. I don't know what more you want from me.
Oh, okay. So it's a child perpetrating awful acts. Does that make it better for you, right? Like everything is cuter when a lolly does it, right? But thank you, friend. And
not sex.
I walked into that one. Fair enough. All right. Ashley, I really hope we can have you back more in the future. Right. I'll keep sending you invites. Hopefully, we can have you on again.
For having me.
Yeah. Our friend Scott, again, the Pied Piper, that leads all that leads all of you, right, with his song. Thank you, Scott, for being so kind as to join us and always being a advocate for your true, deeply held beliefs.
Yeah, I am Scott from Fabian Liberty. You can search Fabian Liberty pretty much everywhere. Liberty_Fabian on Twitter. Recently, I did a panel with Blair White, Chloe Cole, Buck Angel, Tulipar, Shifter of Shapes, and Sinead from GenSpec, though she had to leave not too long after. Why do I feel like I'm missing someone? Taftash, sorry. But you fuckers on Twitch tried to take me down. You couldn't take me down, but you took Taftash down for 3 days. So 2 minutes in, we were at 111 views and growing massively. You fuckers took her down, so we had to switch over to YouTube. So go check it out on YouTube. We talked about detrans and trans issues. We talked about narcissistic personality disorder and covert and vulnerable narcissism. You know, we talked about science and pseudoscience involved in it from both sides. We talked about trans people aligning with the right and how that could be problematic. Talked about a bunch of different stuff. Chloe Cole's first panel, I think, ever. It was super good, super interesting. Definitely check us out on YouTube because we're like 100 subs away from monetization, and we lost a lot of money getting forced off of Twitch instantly when we were probably going to be in the hundreds for the night. So go check it out.
Could you do me a favor and put your link in my chat? Everyone, please, let's go help out our friend Scott. Scott is like he makes actually really good content. And you know, he's always here. He's always part of our community. He's always helping us out, sharing his time. So yeah, check him out. Check out and that panel is like, it's actually really quite interesting. So I think you'll enjoy it. Everyone, subscribe to his channel. Okay, let's go to our friend Corey Campbell. Corey, you also just put up a great fight tonight, and I appreciate Corey is one of the few people who he doesn't mind going it alone, right? Like he's soft spoken, but he will fight the entire panel, and I love what you do. I think it's actually really fun. So thanks, my friend.
Yeah, super, as always, grateful to be here, and always excited to get an invitation. And yeah, also grateful that despite my perpetual fence-sitting ways, I get invited back. And I hope I get invited back to just continue doing more perpetual fence-sitting. And also, just as a point of clarification, Sophie Turner, who played Sansa, wasn't even 18 in real life when she first started on Game of Thrones.
Oh, wow.
Like, I think the first 2 seasons, she was, I think, literally 15 or 16. And that scene with the attempted rape happens in the first or second season. And so, you know, according to some people, that should be banned. But yeah, super lovely to be here and to be on the panel with Doobie. As always, a pleasure. Isle of Isles, great to meet you again. Nutella, pleasure to meet you. And Revolutionary Underground, pleasure to meet you. Always a pleasure. Fellow Lactoid, I'm not going to say it. And always a pleasure, Scott, and a pleasure, Ashley. I'm Corey Campbell. You can find me on twitch.tv, CoreyCampbell84, and on Twitter and Instagram, literally, it's Corey Campbell. I cover science, I do workout streams, and a little bit of politics. Thank you.
You can also find him on Pro Communist United, right?
That's right. Thank you.
Unfortunately, his brand has been hijacked by our next guest, Blacktoid. Thank you for stopping by. And again, you were fantastic today. I really loved hearing all you have to say. I would have wanted you to go longer with like your back and forth that you were having here. But you know, we got time constraints. But seriously, thank you so much, Lactoid.
Yeah, look, you know, I'm a libertarian on most matters, but when it comes to child safety, jackbooted Stalinist. So I'm sorry, I got to lay down the law sometimes. But no, thank you so much, Prime. Thank you for everybody for talking with me. It was a ton of fun. I thought everybody was interesting, which is not always the case, but everybody here was very interesting and I think very smart. I thought that was great. If you like what I had to say, you can find me on Anti-Communism United on Discord and Twitch, and Anti-Com United on Twitter. It would have been the full Anti-Communism United, but they limited me on my the characters I could use. So that kind of sucks.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, yeah, maybe one day you'll come up with like your own original idea. Maybe leave Corey out of it here, but no, it's cool, right? Like,
Not enough characters is censorship, right, Lactoid?
Both Corey and I do not believe in IP. You do not need to be original, but you should be philosophically consistent in your libertarianism.
True.
All right. That's something we should talk about sometime. Like whether you should focus on that, whether you need to be consistent, right, or whether it should be
Fluid.
focused on outcomes, right? Well, I guess basically that's how a lot of arguments go.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm consistent. I mean, anybody who wants to read my full, some people call it a manifesto, I call it a pamphlet. Just shoot me a message. I'll send it over.
Okay. Actually, I'm not sure. Have you ever sent it to me? I'm not sure if you have. You might have.
I'd actually love to read it.
Yeah, if you could send me your, because that's what. Yeah, that's what originally got me. Let me know about this guy. So let's go to our friend Revolutionary Underground. Thanks for stopping by and joining us. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Hey, I was happy to do it. That is one of the most insane but interesting conversations I've been a part of in a real long time. Don't forget that the Revolutionary Underground's really just the community. I'm just Brad, its biggest loudmouth. So anybody who wants to come check us out, we're Revolutionary Underground over on Twitch. We are relatively kind, but we don't take kindly to too much bullshit. But we are here to show you some love.
Okay. Thank you. We have Josh as well. Josh, thanks for joining us tonight.
No problem. Thank you for inviting me. I really had a good time. It was a pleasure meeting you. Ashley, Scott, Corey, and Lactoid for the first time. Doobie as well. It was a pleasure talking with you all. And I appreciate you Prime for allowing us to share all our political opinions, because I think that's so important to the democratic process today. And thank you for having me.
I don't know if everyone would agree with you. Like, I allowed you to share your degenerate opinions tonight.
That's fine.
Well, I would just say fuck democracy, but I still like you, PrimeCayes.
Fair enough. Okay. Same back at you, Scott. Sincerely. Let's go to our friend Isle. Isle, thanks also for stopping by, and
Thank you.
I don't know, struggling with your tech, right? Like
Always struggling with the
one
tech,
day
but
maybe
make
you'll
it
win.
work. Anyway, listen, unlike Josh here, I actually am here to shill. So, you can find me at youtube.com, Isle of Isles. You can find me at DeviantArt. Link in the description of my YouTube page, because I definitely, listen, I can get YouTube partner. I'm just 3,998 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time away from getting partnership on YouTube. I can get the money. So, it's a new channel. Just started it 2 days ago because I said, you know what, I got to take the plunge and do it. I'm doing too much on the internet to not have a YouTube channel to chill for. So yeah, now I'm chilling now. But in conclusion, I think that fuck climate change reparations. We need that here for our people. We need to be in a position of strength, but we can't be strong if our own people are getting washed the fuck out with all the rain. So we need to help our people out, help them rebuild, help everybody, recoup their losses, especially if they had insurance. If they didn't have insurance, we should definitely make sure that they have insurance for the next time. But, and make sure that we have people out there that can give them what they need to help them retain their property rights and things of that nature. And for the second one, I think it's very cringe to have simulated child porn, but I think it's evil and demonic art, and I think that as a society we should be able to have an intellectual conversation about it, to see that this is there and it's out here and people are just degenerate and evil, and then reject it wholesale as a society. I think that's the best way to handle these types of things, kind of like with cuties. The message is that, society is over sexualizing girls way too fast, especially in the minority communities that don't necessarily have a place other than dancing and like getting into trouble with their friends in these isolated groups. So I think that, we have to take these themes to heart and actually learn what we can from them, but realize that this art is kind of degenerate, it's kind of evil, and reject it. Like, we shouldn't have acceptance for like fucking kids.
If you haven't done so already, put your YouTube into my Twitch chat so that people can find you.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
did.
Okay, fantastic. Doobie, our Dark Lord and Savior, thank you for coming through and putting up a great fight. I think especially as always taking a hard stance, right? Like opposite of Corey. Thank you for taking a to drawing lines in the sand, because I think this could be useful, because then someone has to say like on what side of it they're on. So thank you, Doobie, seriously, for all your contributions.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I am Doobie. I help run the politics server on Discord, discord.gg/politics, or just politics.gg in your browser. And we are the best and biggest politics server on the Discord platform. I think we've got like over 70,000 people now. Very active, 24/7. We have tons of AMAs and events and just tons of crazy shit. And I guess I'll close it out by saying that Kanye did nothing wrong, and that if you're hating on Kanye, you're hating on me.
Oh my god. Good. See, this is a skill of Doobie, right? Like, look, I'm triggering me really at the end, where I have limited ability to respond. I would like to talk to you about that sometime.
I'm ready for Kanye's Yakub arc.
Oh, all right.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
I want to see the Yakub arc too, actually.
Lactoid. I got a request from someone, our friend Aiko, one of my chatters. He wanted to talk to you about sorry, I should have this pulled up. Ask if you stick around for a few minutes in open panel so I can ask about civil remedies on climate change. So if you have a moment, yes, please, thank you. And all the rest of you are as well welcome to stick around, because we're going to go to open welcome panel. But if not, that's okay. It's spending your time, your energy, your knowledge, and your passion. My community, I know they appreciate it just as much as I do. Have a good one. Bye.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, it's really good.
Lactoid, you still around? Take care.
You just watched a clip from our Twitch channel, Fabian Liberty. If you like content like this, please like and subscribe here on YouTube, or go ahead and give us a follow on twitch.tv/Fabian Liberty.